This week we're talking about the Street Fighter.
Oh, with Christopher Lambert.
No, that's Mortal Kombat.
Oh, you mean with Joe Taslim?
No, that's the other Mortal Kombat. Just play the theme song.
I don't want to see an ordinary film. I want to see something extraordinary.
Your sacrifice completes my sanctuary of 1,000 testicles.
You ever feel as if your mind had started to erode?
Let's rock indeed. Welcome to 1000 Wives of Weird, a podcast about weird movies. I'm Billy Martell, and with me as always is...
Brad Hefner.
And today, we're continuing No Not That One month, our first theme month in the month of March, talking about a great, fantastic movie, The Street Fighter, already a slightly different title than the movie that you would think. We're not talking about Street Fighter with Christopher Lambert or...
That was Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, or with... now I can't think
Raul
of...
Julia.
Raul Julia. Now, instead, we are talking about the Street Fighter that came out in 1974, starring Sonny Chiba, or I believe Shinichi Chiba, as he's known in his home country. He was renamed Sonny Chiba without his consultation in America, apparently.
Yeah. I think that happened a lot.
Oh, I'm sure it did. But we're going to talk about this fantastic martial arts movie. Basic plot, without getting into any spoilers, is that Tsurugi is this absolute crazy person.
Yes, he's cold as ice, he's hard as stone, and he's tough as nails.
He's worse than most villains by his own admission. He is worse than most villains that you will meet. But in this instance, his interests align with the forces of good, and he is going to clean house on some evildoers. Mm-hmm. And I think that's basically... Yeah, there's not much story.
No, there's not. It's a pretty action-heavy movie. Pure exploitation, pure grindhouse.
Absolutely. We discussed this very briefly in another episode.
In the 2021 recap.
In the 2021 recap, because we watched this in 2021 and were just blown away by it. Its weird accolades are admittedly slight. I think mostly what it's here for is the fact that it's very hard to find anybody talking about this movie anymore.
Yeah, in some circles this is obviously huge, and the people who follow cult movies, exploitation, grindhouse movies.
Yeah, but it's a cult movie, but like most of the time when you Google search The Street Fighter, you're going to find way more about what's the new release date on the next Street Fighter game than you're ever going to find about this movie, despite the fact that it does have some very serious accolades in terms of inspiring not only the Street Fighter games, but also the Mortal Kombat games. We were joking about it, but it does have those accolades there.
And also, this was the first film to get, in the U.S., an X rating for violence. Mm-hmm. So, I'd say that's a contender for weird, interesting...
Yeah, absolutely. I would say so.
Historic, if nothing else.
I would absolutely agree with that. So yeah, we always recommend that people go into a movie as blind as possible, just so you can get the full experience of watching it. This movie in particular is an action movie, so there's only so much that we can do when it comes to describing the violence on screen.
Yes. This is a movie that, again, since it's not hyper weird or even that weird, there's not much that's going to be able to be spoiled, and even the most interesting and crazy things about this movie you really have to just see.
Yeah, for real. Regardless, we are going to get into spoilers in a second, but before we do, as always, we're going to give our recommendations. Brad, would you recommend The Street Fighter?
Oh, absolutely. I was the one who brought this movie to you. Mm-hmm. I watched it. I loved it so much. I was like, Billy needs to fucking see this. As happens with a lot of action movies, one of the best action movies I've ever seen.
I completely agree.
Sonny Chiba is amazing in every sense of the word. Like, great physical performer. Great just use of, I don't even know how to explain, he has such amazing charisma, even while playing this horrible fucking character. It's just, anytime he's on screen, it's like, he owns it. Yeah. He owns whatever DVDs are sitting to the side of your TV. He's now the best part of those movies, too. So yeah, absolutely. If you're a fan of martial arts action movies, The violence is pretty heavy. Good.
Yeah.
There's some dark shit in there.
Again, originally rated X in the States for violence, and they had even cut out some of the worst bits.
Yes. But Billy, would you recommend?
110%. Holy shit. Like, you talk about... Brad and I have watched some really great action movies. We've seen the Lone Wolf and Cub movies, two of which are now some of our favorite action movies.
Absolutely.
We just rewatched The Raid not too long ago, which is fucking incredible. We love the John Wick movies. So... it's no small thing when we tell you this is one of the greatest action movies we've ever seen.
Yeah.
There are things in this movie I have never seen in anything else.
No.
And I'm not even talking about the gore, although the gore is choice. I love this movie to absolute pieces. If you don't mind having some pretty choice gore, some pretty vile, brutal stuff, and you're also someone who can handle the fact that you're literally going to be watching a movie where the main character is one of the worst people in the world.
Yeah.
Now, the movie doesn't shy away from that. It's not like a movie where presenting you with this horrible person and telling you, oh no, they're your hero, like some Arnold Schwarzenegger or Sly Stallone movies from the 80s where they just have these horrible main characters and they're like, no, you like them because this is Reagan's America. No, this character is meant to be hated, and yet you're still going to like him because Sonny Chiba is one of the most charming men in the universe.
Yes. And another thing that needs to be heralded with action movies, a lot of the ones that you just mentioned, John Wick, The Raid, they're modern. They have...
Yes.
The further back you go, generally the less impressive compared to modern movies action is. I mean, Predator's a fun movie, but I wouldn't say that there's anything in there that's better than... I don't know.
Well, it's not a martial arts movie.
It's not a martial arts movie, but let's...
In the 80s, there was more of an idea of, like, just shooting a gun for a long period of time was considered exciting enough.
Gotcha.
You watch, like, one of the most famous or infamous action movies from the 80s, Commando, is just Arnold Schwarzenegger running around, barely moving, with a big machine gun on his arm. And that... for some people, and for me when I first watched it, was enough. But, like, when it comes to martial arts movies, and especially, like, hand-to-hand combat, especially in the States, movies have come a long way. Absolutely.
They have.
Yeah. And a lot of it is because of American filmmakers growing up watching foreign action movies like this. This movie was apparently a big influence on Quentin Tarantino, for example.
Yes, it's one of his favorites.
Yeah.
My first exposure to this film was in the movie True Romance, which
Yes.
Tarantino wrote.
Yes.
They go to see this movie in the theater. So I was like, and because when I saw it, I was a huge Quentin Tarantino fan, even though I didn't love True Romance.
Sure.
I was like, that always stuck with me because I was like, well, he's the king. I need to see what the king likes. And
Right.
everything the king likes is better than what the king makes.
Funny that. We absolutely recommend it. You should click off of this right now and go watch it.
Unfortunately, this movie is a little... You're going to want to buy a Blu-ray for it.
Yeah, you're gonna. Shout Factory released a fantastic Blu-ray copy of it
That
we
has
recommend.
all three of the Sonny Chiba Street Fighter films.
Yes, there are 2 sequels to this.
The Street Fighter, Return of the Street Fighter, and the Street Fighter's Last Revenge.
Yes.
Other 2 films, not as good.
Unfortunately, not as good as the first. They also started a sort of spin-off series, Sister Street Fighter, which is also not as good, but is still great.
That first Sister Street Fighter, we haven't watched the rest yet.
Yeah.
It's good.
That's true.
It's good.
That's true. We haven't watched the rest of the Sister Street Fighter movies yet. Oh,
There is a version on Tubi, but I do not recommend that version.
Yes.
1, it is dubbed.
yes.
2, the quality is absolutely terrible. Their parts of people's names in the credits get chopped off by whatever fucking weird envelope formatting they're using.
It sounds like it was ripped from like a VHS copy that
Probably.
somebody had or something.
And
that used to happen a lot with foreign movies in VHS format, I remember.
And it is probably one of the cut American releases. So
yeah.
I would recommend getting the Shout Factory release, even though those other 2 movies are not as good. It's worth the price just for the Street Fighter.
Absolutely. And you said you still found fun things in those other
Oh,
movies.
absolutely.
Yeah.
In the Street Fighter's Last Revenge, there's the villain is an American man dressed as a matador or a mariachi. It's a little confused.
Right.
And he has a laser belt.
Doesn't he, like, tap the back of a guy's head and the eyeballs pop out?
That's the second movie.
That's the second movie?
Yeah.
Great. Good. So, there's quality entertainment to be had by all.
Yeah.
So now jumping into spoilers, we get a Flash of a newspaper headline. Junjo has been sentenced to death.
Oh, fucking Junjo.
Fucking Junjo at it again. At it again at the
Always
Krispy
getting
Kreme.
sentenced to death.
Always getting sentenced
What is it?
to death.
Tuesday? Junjo's getting sentenced to death again.
Every goddamn Tuesday. Junjo is a karate man.
He's a karate man. Now we'll talk about this right now.
Let's talk
because
about it.
the phrase karate man is so hilarious that I assumed that the subs on the Shout Factory release were just transcripts of the dub.
Right.
But that is not the case.
No, it's not.
They just made the choice to use the phrase karate man.
I have no idea if this is like a literal translation from the Japanese.
Yeah.
If when a native Japanese speaker hears the dialogue in this movie, they hear it as clunky as the subtitles come across.
Maybe, but there has to be a...
You would think.
I don't know.
You would the dialogue, at least in the subtitles, for the dialogue in the dub is also clunky as hell, but there's different dialogue from the also clunky dialogue in the subtitles on the Shout Factory Blu-ray.
Yes.
But yes, Junjo is a karate man. Every time someone's like a master martial artist in this movie, they are referred to as a karate man. That's just the official title. But Junjo is a karate man who challenged a whole karate school and killed 7 men.
I wish we would have gotten this scene.
Yeah.
Imagine this, like this intro that we're going to get is pretty great.
It is.
But imagine if, because Junjo has some chops. We're going to see it later.
Junjo has some major chops.
I love a dojo clearing. You know
yeah.
me. I fucking love a dojo clearing.
Yeah, who doesn't?
Granted, we're going to get a dojo clearing later.
Of a sort, yes.
But is there anything in the Bible that says you can't have 2 dojo clearings in one movie?
There is nothing. In fact, I think it's encouraged in Psalms somewhere.
Well, I
it's
remember
encouraged that there be multiple dojo clearings in a film.
I remember Jesus went into the dojo and started flipping people,
Flipping the
flipping them.
Judo flipping them tables. Yeah, exactly. In most other movies, all the setup for Junjo would be either set up for Junjo to be the lead, or this would be like the last scene in the movie, and the entire movie would have been about Junjo and his weird fucking beef with this karate school.
Yeah.
Junjo even kind of looks a little bit more like the traditional martial arts movie leading man. He's a little bit more like
stoic,
svelte, and so he's just got this sort of vibe where he looks a little bit more like a Bruce Lee or some kind of figure like that, where he would be the lead of this movie. But no,
but he's just about to be executed.
He's just
they
about
have
to be
the
executed.
noose ready.
They do, and he's refused to talk to any lawyer or chaplain, but a kindly
wandering Buddhist priest who just
happened to be
go
around.
The officials make it sound like he goes from prison to prison, just like getting off on talking to near dead people.
He's a man of goodwill. He's a man of faith, and he's come into the prison to minister to this poor lost soul and help save his soul, maybe.
But here's something I learned from this movie.
Yes.
If you are a karate man,
yes,
you can instantly recognize other karate men.
That's very true. That's very true, because as the Buddhist monk enters in, and the authorities have let him in because not for Junjo's sake, because we know Junjo in and out of prison every Tuesday, dirty, rotten bastard. He doesn't deserve to be saved. But he has a brother and a sister who are innocent.
They are
in all
innocent.
of this. And so for their sake, they're letting this priest in. But the minute this priest enters, Junjo, who again has not spoken to anyone, asks all the other cops and officials to leave the cell. Mm-hmm. And they do. The movie shows the priest's face for the first time, and he just has this permanent scowl emblazoned on his face. There's murder in those eyes.
Yeah.
Maybe that's how you tell another karate man. Just the absolute murder coming out of that man's face. There's some great Bela Lugosi style eye lighting between the two men as the understanding passes between them. And he says to the priest, "I know you are also a karate man." He asks him what school is he from. He identifies himself as from the Shikanbaro school, and he's the last genuine Okinawa karate fighter. And that he wishes he could live long enough to fight a man like this priest. The priest indulges in a cruel smile and says, "There is time still." And then a slow motion fight breaks out between the two men.
Now, normally I'm not crazy about the slow motion fight.
Yeah.
this is fucking great.
This
works
great.
really well.
Yes.
And it's also an interesting choice. You think
Yeah.
at the beginning you're going to want like a nice big fight to draw them in.
Yes.
Here it's still brutal as shit, as all our fights are going to be, but it works. It really works.
It does really work. I think most of the time when you have an opening like this, you want the first time the action hero to do something to be kind of like that first shootout in A Fistful of Dollars, where the entire point of the scene is just to show how dangerous Clint Eastwood's character is, that he can kill all these guys and like call the number of coffins slightly inaccurately, but still, and they're all gone. In most action movies, that's what you want the first action scene to be. In this one, by necessity of the plot, we are not seeing the action hero definitely take out some rando. We're seeing the action villain, because this character, the monk, is actually Tsurugi in disguise, taking on someone who is at least his equal, as we find out later, Junjo, who is an incredible karate man, and essentially taking a character who, again, in any other movie, if you didn't know what was going to happen in this film, you're watching it, you would imagine that Junjo is your lead character. Essentially, Tsurugi is violently entering the movie and shoving Junjo aside and taking on the role.
It's like Sonny Chiba just wandered on set and was like, fuck your movie.
Exactly.
Make room for Shinichi.
And as if to drive that point home, as the slow motion continues, he delivers
a fucking brutal punch to the midsection of Junjo.
Fucking Spoony One soul punch right to him, and that spontaneously causes the titles to enter the movie.
As the title music swells and blares.
And
The Street Fighter.
The Street Fighter.
Filmed in action scope.
Is that what it says? I missed that. That's great. That's
also,
great.
Let's talk about now. Because
Okay.
Junjo does it. Tsurugi's going to be doing it a lot.
Yes.
The breathing in this movie is fucking nuts.
It's fucking nuts.
And what I mean by that
we were doing a
is-
bit of it coming out of the theme songs.
It's like we've often said, a good action movie makes you want to like pull out your air guns or or throw fake punches at your friend.
Pull out all your Nerf and just start beating people to death.
Get a
with
sword and just start wailing on people.
Absolutely.
Like a plastic sword, not a real sword.
Absolutely.
Violent movies don't make you violent.
They just make violent people more creative.
Not only does the Street Fighter make you want to spar with your buddy.
Oh, yeah.
It makes you want to move like Sonny Chiba. It makes you want to make noise like Sonny Chiba.
Sonny Chiba doesn't move like anyone. Like, Sonny Chiba...
You know, Bruce Lee tried to move like water.
Yeah.
Sonny Chiba has the free form of actual water. He's just like, I'm going to fill... I can't go beyond the bounds of my skin, but I'm just going to wriggle trying to fill as much space as I can.
If you've ever seen a cat approach a threat where it's like walking sideways towards it, it's got like an arched back, just like that whole thing. That's Sonny Chiba's whole thing.
Yeah.
Every time he gets into a fight, his shoulders are arched. He's got like a whole
like,
weird bend to his body. He's doing this Elvis leg jiggles, trying to like move in and out of space with the other guy.
It's like he's trying... It's like he's so close to coming up with popping and locking. But we weren't just... The world wasn't there as a society
wasn't
yet.
quite there yet.
Like, we just weren't ready to break that barrier.
Yeah.
So he couldn't get there. Otherwise, Tsurugi would be the first breakdance martial artist. But the breathing, what we mean is, you know how Bruce Lee would go... Wah?
Yeah.
It's a trademark of martial arts movies.
Yeah.
Tsurugi's breathing is so loud and constant... And insane.
Painful. And painful
like,
sounding.
It's just so... It's not... What?
It sounds... I wrote... Every time I made a note about it, I wrote it as... Tsurugi clears his sinuses and goes in for the kill. Like, that's what it sounds like every time.
Everything... I wrote this in my notes. Sonny Chiba's God's own madman. Like... It's like God was like... Let me try to outdo myself today.
He plays this character entirely unhinged.
Yeah.
But he has that sort of quality that like Mark Hamill's Joker has, that Venom has in the comics, where like you unquestionably understand that this character is awful. This character is the worst. But there's something about him that's just magnetic. You can't take your goddamn eyes off of him.
He has so much charisma. He has so much presence. And we're like, it is sort of funny, but you're not watching it and going, this is so dumb, it's hilarious. You're like, how the fuck is this working?
Yeah.
You're
that's
going,
the thing. Like, we're describing the way that Sonny Chiba moves, and you as a listener are listening to us and being like, this sounds like the stupidest shit in the world. And you'd be right. I can't explain it to you without you watching the movie. It works.
It works so well.
It works. It's like if I told you that my favorite literary character was a rich dude with parental issues that runs around dressed as a bat at night with a bat-themed car. You would think I was an idiot. But you watch a Batman movie and they're fucking great. It's just,
man. Now I really want a Batman versus the Street Fighter movie.
I would fucking love that. This movie already feels more like a comic book movie than most comic book movies. Yeah. So I would absolutely be on board. But a little bit of background about Sonny Chiba, by the way, because there is a great interview with him on the disc. We kind of like made fun of him a little bit when we were watching this movie the first time. Well, me the first time, you the second time. Because the fighting in this movie, while it is incredible, is a little bit sloppier than like The Raid or a Bruce Lee movie.
No, Sonny Chiba's probably not going to crack the top 5 of the best movie martial artists.
Maybe not, but I think that we may have been a little bit harsh on him because rewatching this movie, he's pretty legit.
He is.
He's pretty legit. And also, apparently, he was a martial artist first.
I believe it. It's clear that he knows what he's doing. He's not someone who, like, they brought on because he has all this charisma.
Right. They brought him on for the physical stuff, and he just happened to have a lot of charisma.
It's clear that he's a proficient fighter.
Yeah. But he was training to be an Olympic athlete in college, but couldn't go because of an injury.
In archery?
Sure, why not? So he pivoted and went into acting. He was training in karate from the age of 19. His style, because the character never actually establishes what style he fights with in the movie.
He affiliates with nobody.
Yes.
Except his live-in best friend.
Except his husband, who we'll get to. But his style in real life is kyokushi.
Oh, okay.
Which is a full contact style.
So there's lots of kissing.
Exactly. In the interview, he says, in Kyokushi, your teeth get knocked out, the ref picks them up and tells you to keep going.
Nice. That's such a Sonny Chiba thing to say.
It's such a Tsurugi thing to say, absolutely.
Yeah, I just assume that Sonny Chiba is like Tsurugi.
Unfortunately.
With less of the bad elements.
Here's the thing. There was a bit of an element about the interview that was a bit of a, like, never meet your hero situation where, like, he kept talking about the violence in this movie and being like, I didn't like it.
Really?
I didn't like the gore. I didn't like doing nasty stuff to people because that's not what karate's about. He's like, I never would have done any of that stuff, but that's what the director in the studio wanted, so I just did it.
Well, that makes sense why there's less of it in the other two movies.
Weirdly, they'd asked him that, and he said, no, I wouldn't have changed the character. I didn't care about that. I was uncomfortable with it, but I never would have done anything about it.
Interesting.
They changed it on their own.
I appreciate that stance because that's what you always hear about karate is like it's not
about violence is what he said. Yeah.
Even though I believe there's a character in this movie who's like karate was meant to kill.
No, that's in this exact scene we were just describing. Junjo says real karate men like you and I understand that we're meant to go at each other to the death.
Yeah.
And that's what these idiots don't understand. They shouldn't be arresting me for killing those karate students. I'm a real karate man. I'm the last real fighter in Okinawa.
Yeah. So I appreciate that. The man's allowed to have an opinion.
He's allowed to have an opinion. It's
okay.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't enjoy it. That's fine.
Yeah. But he said that he appreciates that people like the Street Fighter. He hates it.
Aww.
And I was like, come on, dude. But whatever.
I wonder
he's allowed to have his opinion.
He wanted to play more werewolf detectives.
Okay. He does say at the end, he says, I'm done with action movies because I've made hundreds of them. I think the young people should make those. but he will come back to a karate movie if someone lets him play a character like Dirty Harry.
Okay.
They asked him why. He says, I like Dirty Harry. And now I'm obsessed with Sonny Chiba playing a hard-nosed detective who just, like, kicks in doors and is like, you know, an unhinged God's own madman.
Yeah.
Interrogating suspects. That'd be fucking nuts. I love that. And he does explain the sinus noises.
Oh, does he?
In the interview. It's a breathing technique called ibuki. And he says it's about centering yourself when you're stressed or in a serious situation. And he actually demonstrates some of it in the interview, and it sounds exactly the same.
I'm sure,
as it
like,
does in the movie.
If it's a technique, it's something he learned. But now I'm picturing someone like taking a test.
Yeah.
And just, man, like, I need to center myself.
And even like before he enters the scene, we see Junjo like doing forms and
Junjo's
stuff.
doing the same fucking
He's doing
thing.
the same fucking shit
Doing
in
his
his
kata.
cell, doing his kata. But yeah, so the character's name is Takuma Tsurugi, or in the English version,
Terry Tsurugi, or
which I
Terry
hate.
Suguri
Terry Suguri.
is another. There is another way that they did that name.
Okay, I prefer Tsurugi
I prefer Tsurugi as well.
personally. But what he's done to Junjo in this fight,
He's giving him the classic. One of my favorite cliches is he hits him just so
yes,
that he goes into
delayed asphyxia.
Yes. It's not just one of those things where it's like, okay, we're gonna put you into such a deep sleep they're gonna think you're dead.
Right, yeah.
It's like you're gonna walk around for a little bit still, and then at exactly the right moment you're gonna keel over.
It's such Fists of the North Star bullshit. But, yeah, so he's given him delayed asphyxia. Yeah, and at this point, Junjo says, you must be from the Daigyoku school. And Tsurugi says, I belong to nothing.
Yes. So good.
Also, his theme music, which we first hear in this opening, is fucking phenomenal.
There's 70s Japanese movies have some great funk scores.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
There are some nice bits of filmmaking in this movie. Like it's not just action.
Mm-hmm.
It is. We get a beautiful shot through the noose. Like it's again, like this is right at the start of the movie, even though we're 30 minutes in.
Right. Yeah. No, most of my notes come at the beginning because most of the plot happens in the first half of the film, and then the rest of it is. So we're gonna run out of things to say in the back half, but the first half we're gonna talk a lot.
Yeah. Like you get this Karate Man stuff, you get this slow motion fight.
The filmmaking is legit in this
There's
movie.
some legitimately beautiful shots. And just like the way things are framed, the way they're set up, the use of dummies in this film, not as good.
I forgot to look up his career, but in that interview, Chiba said that two of the reasons he chose to do this movie, even though he didn't like the script, were because he got a chance to work with Toei.
Oh, yeah.
So, gigantic production company in Japan. And two, the director of the film was apparently already well known for being a real serious director. And he was like,
Okay.
this is working my way up in the film industry. This is real filmmaking that we got here. So yeah, the director is no slouch. The filmmaking in this movie is fantastic.
As they're leading him up to the gallows, the scaffold, he keels over from the delayed asphyxia.
Yes.
They put him in an ambulance.
Send him to the hospital, but the ambulance is waylaid by Tsurugi's husband, Rakuda, played by Japanese comedian Guichi Yamada.
Yes.
Yes.
And when we're first introduced to this character, he's kicking a bit of ass.
Yes.
That's how tough Tsurugi is.
Yes.
That even his comedic sidekick needs to be able to take out several cops.
And he does.
He does with like a cane, a pipe or something?
Yeah, he's just got like a shillelagh, and he just starts
Yeah.
like busting heads, takes over the ambulance, and he and Tsurugi drive off.
After Tsurugi has his tomato juice.
After Tsurugi has his tomato juice at a local bodega.
That's the source of Tsurugi's powers. Mm-hmm. Is his V8.
I got me tomato juice. But yes, in the text of the film, Tsurugi and Rakuda are live-in best friends and partners. They are husbands, and I will not hear otherwise.
Yeah, because Rakuda who is called Rat Nose in the credits
in the American version, yeah, which I hate that.
Yeah, I'm not
hate
crazy
that
about
so much.
that either. But
Yeah.
Rakuda cooks for Tsurugi.
Yeah, he fills the traditional housewife kind of role where he cooks and then the very next scene they're like watching TV together. He's cooking and he's like, "Oh no, it got burned.
The chicken is carbonized."
And Tsurugi's like, "Can I eat some real food for once?" He's
Hold
like,
on,
you weren't eating anything before me.
Here's the line, because it's I found an amusing mistranslation or just a grammatical fuck up. Can I have a proper food for once?
Just a singular proper food for once.
What's the most proper food?
What's the most proper
like a cucumber
food?
Sandwich?
I think that's probably because I know that Alfred has offered those in the past to Batman. So yeah, I'm guessing Alfred knows proper foods.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
and Batman never wants those sandwiches. Like he's always too busy at his bat pewter. So I just imagine like.
Apparently the Robins like them.
Okay.
Yeah.
But before they came, I just imagined like Alfred like crouched down in a corner of the manor, just shoving his gob full of all these moldering cucumber sandwiches. Like, I don't want to waste food. That's not what they taught me in the RAF or whatever the fuck he was in.
RAF, where they taught me to buddle.
Yes.
I know that this is becoming a running gag about me just like gay shipping characters in movies we watch, but
I'm gay shipping me with Sonny Chiba. He's a handsome fella.
I am also gay shipping me with Sonny Chiba.
He's one of those dudes that's like, back in the day, there were a couple men that it was okay to admit you found attractive, like Harrison Ford, Sean Connery. Back in the day, if this were more popular, Sonny Chiba would have been one of those guys.
Oh yeah, no, he is absolutely like the ideal of the man's man. Like we talked about how like sort of like svelte and sort of more Bruce Lee-esque that Junjo was. Tsurugi, Sonny Chiba, is a brick house. Like he's
a brick house.
That song was written about this movie. Yeah. No, he's got like the posters for all of the Street Fighter movies, including the sister Street Fighter movies that have Sonny Chiba in them, always draw him like Superman. Like looks like a fucking comic book character, and then you watch the movie and he
like fucking
looks
Luke Cage.
Exactly like that. Yeah, like he even has his own like supervillain outfit that he wears in the movie where he's
all black with like wrist guards.
With metal wrist guards, which we find out at the end hide tiny little knives in them.
Yeah.
So they're utility belts on his arms. Throughout the movie, Rakuda will always refer to Tsurugi as partner, which is suggestive enough, but it's made even more suggestive by the phonetic word that they're using, which I do not know the word. I don't know Japanese. But the word that he's using to refer to partner, that is being translated as partner in the subtitles, sounds phonetically very much like a person with a thick Brooklyn accent saying the word darling. It sounds like he's saying darling every time. Darling. So I just keep imagining that whenever he's yelling out for Tsurugi, he's always yelling for his darling, which just, is so sweet.
Oh, darling. Please believe me.
That song also written about this movie.
Yes. The Beatles. the Beatles traveled in time on their tour of India, where they got real mystical and traveled forward in time to meet Sonny Chiba.
Exactly. Junjo's brother and sister arrive.
Yeah, here's Tsurugi. Absolutely great evil man. Mm-hmm. Not so smart, inviting people to just to his hideout.
Just to his house. Just to his apartment.
His apartment / gym.
But yeah, so he invites them over. They are also dressed like comic book characters.
Yes.
With the brother in particular having this jacket that's absolutely form-fitted to his middle, but puffs out at the top. It just looks like...
Looks like a Frank Miller design from The Dark Knight Returns.
Absolutely does. They arrive, and it turns out Tsurugi was hired by these siblings to rescue Junjo from the noose, and they now want to see him. But Tsurugi points out it would have been fucking stupid to bring a fugitive from Japanese justice to Tokyo.
Yeah.
And so he sent him... He dropped his asphyxiated ass on a ship to Hong Kong.
Oh, he got him on a slow boat to China.
Tsurugi says, hey, you guys still owe me 3 million yen. Mm-hmm. And the brother says, well, we don't pay until we see Junjo. And Tsurugi doesn't take kindly to that. And so starts kicking the brother's ass. Quite good. Every fight scene in this movie is better than the last.
Yeah,
like every fight scene in this movie is incredible, but every fight scene gets better than the one before it. Every time a fight scene happened in this movie, I thought, this is the best fight scene.
Yeah. And usually it grows in scope as well.
Yes.
Not always, but even when it's not adding more bodies to be punched,
yes,
it's doing some crazy shit.
Exactly. Even when we go from the last fight scene was a fight scene with 10 men, now it's a fight scene between him and one other person.
Yeah.
There's something in there that wasn't there before that, like, increases the stakes slightly. So the sister admits to them that they're not actually holding out to see Junjo, they're holding out because they just don't have the cash. But that's okay. Tsurugi says that as long as they give him some kind of collateral, they can have some more time to raise the money. Very reasonable man, yes. Our Tsurugi. What kind of collateral would he want? Well, before he answers, he fully assaults the sister. Just like grabs her and forces a kiss on her.
Yeah, he gives her no smooches.
He kisses her so hard, I think he draws blood.
It's either blood or lipstick.
Or might be lipstick.
If it's lipstick, he's really putting his teeth into that kiss.
He's
really just like, that's how I'm going to kiss from now on. It's just like jut out my teeth and just smear it against her lips.
Yeah. I mean, that's
so sexy.
Again, with the kind of insanity that Sonny Chiba inhabits in this movie, fully believe it. But yes, and he says, you'll sell. God, what an asshole. The brother, even more incensed by this, once again tries to fight Tsurugi. The sister gets into the fight. She also knows how to fight.
Yes. Now, the sister would go on to appear in that actress would appear again in the final Street Fighter movie and was also the star of the sister Street Fighter films.
Yes.
Her name is Etsuko Shihomi, and she was a disciple of Sonny Chiba's.
Yeah, she went to... I thought when we first read that she was someone he taught martial arts to. That may be true. But what's more true is that she was a student of his acting school.
Oh, okay.
He apparently was very disappointed with the caliber of actors he worked with.
Why are you not moving right?
Pretty much exactly. Like in the interview, he explains that he thinks American actors understand better than Japanese actors. His words, not mine. The importance of the full body being involved in your performance. And that Japanese actors, at least the ones that he was working with at the time, were lazy and didn't want to put in that kind of effort.
Gotcha.
So he established a acting school very early on in his career to try and teach actors to get physically fit and use their entire body. And this woman, what was her name again?
Etsuko Shihomi.
Was one of his first students. She apparently failed out the first time, and then he was like, come on back and try again. And she graduated the second time, and then eventually got into the Sister Street Fighter movies. I think Sonny Chiba has a weird idea about American actors. I have not seen what he's talking about.
Yeah, I'm not real sure either.
Yeah.
Maybe he saw a bunch of plays, which, as we talked about before, is a lot of arm acting, a lot of...
Yes, a lot of arm acting. It's entirely possible.
But I just want to point out that Etsuko Shihomi is a fantastic martial artist in her own right.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
She's very good.
You watch Sister Street Fighter, and she seems more technically proficient than Sonny Chiba does in many scenes. Yeah.
I mean, I am not qualified to judge that, but it seems like she is at least more proper and less animalistic.
Yeah,
and that's probably what it is.
A little bit more of the tight, controlled kind of martial arts you see more from people like Bruce Lee and stuff like that. Whereas again, Sonny Chiba is just a wild man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wild Man Steve.
Wild Man Steve.
From P.D. Wheatstraw. But now it's not uncommon to see in old movies a lady get slapped around.
Unfortunately, no. It is
but that's not what happens here. Tsurugi straight up combos this poor woman.
Yes.
And again, she is a martial artist in her own right.
Yeah.
But still, we don't really know that. So he's just doing like a 3-hit combo on her.
Tsurugi does not Speaking of Dirty Harry, much like it is said of Dirty Harry in that movie, Tsurugi doesn't care your race, your gender, your culture, your creed. You're gonna drop like the rest, and he is going to make you hurt. The brother tries once again to fight Tsurugi. The sister gets in on the fight. But Tsurugi's just too powerful. As he's beating the living shit out of both of them, he tells them that he can't. He hates a man who doesn't keep his promises.
He says, "You make me sick.
You make me
sick." And this
sick.
is coming from a man who's about to sell a woman into sex slavery.
He's literally about to indulge in sex trafficking.
I want to point out something that I love in martial arts movies, and that's the sound effects.
Oh my God.
They do so much heavy lifting. Like, some people find them hokey, especially Hong Kong martial arts.
They are hokey. It doesn't matter.
But and especially like Hong Kong martial arts movies, they like to really lay it on thick.
Yeah.
But as we've talked about, the martial arts in this movie on the part of Tsurugi is so brutal and animalistic, and a lot of that lifting is done by the great Foley work and sound effects.
Yeah. The only time that I really noticed the sound effects, because you don't want to notice.
You don't want to notice them. This was my third watch, so I was like,
but like,
let's try to figure out the key to this brutality.
The only time where something stuck out to me where I was like, that doesn't sound like that should go there, is at that very opening when Junjo's doing his kata in his cell. And
there's just a bunch of fart noises.
There's a bunch of wind noises being made every time. And he's not moving especially fast. He's just doing exercises. He's doing Tai Chi, essentially, but every time he moves an arm, and it's just, okay, tone it down a bit. But the rest of the movie, no, the sound works incredibly well. I was watching this part, making notes about Sonny Chiba. I wrote down... I would compare him to like Bruce Campbell or Kurt Russell, but with the full body acting commitment of Toshiro Mifune.
Sure.
Yeah.
I would compare him to just some beast man.
just some beast man.
Oh my God. It's
just
hard to explain.
Straight up the wolf man.
He looks like a dude who would eventually go on to play a werewolf detective. By the way, I know that sounds like the best movie ever, and Wolf Guy is not a bad movie, but you're not going to get as much werewolf stuff as you want.
That sucks.
It's almost like just casually like, hey, he's also a werewolf sometimes.
So, yeah, he beats the brother within an inch of his life.
And the brother goes to do a flying kick.
Goes
right out the window.
Right out the fucking window.
This is the dangers of karate.
This is what they don't tell you. And he falls out the window, however many stories up they are, lands on the ground, and like everybody else who dies from falling in this movie, absolutely explodes in blood.
Yes. yes, he does. It's like a ripe tomato.
And Tsurugi's looking out the window with a face that just says, huh. And meanwhile, the sister's looking out the window and just screaming her head off. But we abruptly cut to the Seibukan karate school with Sensei Kendo Masaoka.
Now, this character is, aside from Tsurugi, the only character who appears in all three films.
That makes sense to me. Yeah. I think, something that Sonny Chiba pointed out in the interview, all the martial artists in this movie are all real martial artists they hired. They did not go to hire actors. They hired martial artists. Yeah. And that goes for Sonny Chiba as well, even though he was looking to get into acting at the time. So I fully believe that this... because before we get to see Master Kendo do anything here, we first see basically an advertisement for this school.
Yeah.
We see a bunch of, like, him running drills with his students. We see some slow motion shots of them breaking a bunch of boards, bricks, cinder blocks, including Master Kendo doing this incredibly impressive thing where he just, like, slices a whole bunch of cinder blocks in half with one hand. Basically, I think someone was like, we want to shoot at your school, and he's like, if you let me shoot a quick commercial. Sure.
Also, this sort of thing is very de rigueur. Like with martial arts movies, like you're going to get the training one. We see a bizarre one in Sister Street Fighter with all the different goons that has been hired by the bad guy, all just like having a little training party.
Yes. Sensei Kendo goes to Sarai Hammett, an heiress of an oil dynasty, an oil company dynasty, one of the biggest oil companies in the world. And I guess he's her uncle? Is that what the relationship is? And Sarai...
Oji-san.
Sarai's father has just died.
Yes. Her father, Dashiell Hammett.
her father, Dashiell Hammett.
Famed pulp detective story writer Dashiell Hammett.
Yes, and apparently also an oil tycoon.
Yes.
Owner of Roxxon Chemicals, has just passed away, and Sarai gives us a quick taste of what will be her very overacted performance for the rest of the movie here.
Yeah.
I don't hate it.
I don't hate it either. Like, it's
But
an
it is-
exploitation. It's Grindhouse. Like, you're not...
It's very hammy acting, and I don't mind that. It's good. It's very entertaining. But she's definitely a bit of a ham, and she's just very, oh no, about the whole thing.
Oh, Sarugi.
What are you talking about? Yeah. Another member of the karate school, as they're talking about it, warns her that now that her father is dead, the vultures are going to start to circle.
Knives out and beaks bloody.
And we immediately, the minute he mentions vultures, we immediately cut back to Sarugi. Sarugi is meeting with Mr. Mutaguchi at the Mutaguchi Company. And Mr. Mutaguchi is congratulating Sarugi on being the meanest man he's ever met.
And he's met Leroy Brown. He's met Mean Joe Green.
He's met Mean Mr. Mustard.
He's met Oscar the Grouch.
Oh my god. Holy shit. He's met Peter Sellers. But Sarugi is the meanest guy he's ever met. Sarugi, what has prompted this is that Mr. Mutaguchi is the man that Sarugi went to sell the sister of Junjo into sex slavery. And we cut to an uncomfortably long scene of her being just... well, an attempted gang rape. Let's say that.
Yeah. Which
see...
ends with her being drugged.
Yes.
And we don't see her for a while.
And screaming at just such a pitch that it made all of my cats panic.
Another interesting thing to note is there was a black character in this movie.
Yes.
Not the best portrayal of a black person in film.
Of all of the gang rapists in this scene, this black guy is the only one who the film goes out of its way to show being horned up about the situation. The rest of them are just sort of like, well, she's our property, we gotta break her in, but also, he's like excited about it.
His name is apparently Bondo.
Okay. So adding another one to the list of James Bonds from the Casino Royale episode.
That's the magician James Bond that Orson Welles wanted to play. The amazing Bondo.
The magician James Bond that he wanted to play?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yet another secret movie hidden within Casino Royale. That would have been great. But yeah, even in this scene, we see that this girl is incredibly tough, as it takes every guy and the syringe of drugs to subdue her. She keeps, like, reaching out and strangling dudes.
She strangles Bondo, and... kudos to Bondo and the actor playing Bondo.
Yeah.
It's not, like, subtle acting, but his sell of the choking, I loved it.
Oh, yeah. No, Bondo is not there for very long, but he does... Bondo sells it.
And because of...
the great Bondo sells it.
In the 70s, at least in sort of grindhouse exploitation films, it was not uncommon to see black characters, which I find interesting whenever I watch... something like that.
Because, like, modern-day Japanese stuff, you don't see very many black people in those movies at all. In return for selling this woman, Sarugi has gotten the 3 million yen that he felt that he was owed. The movie wants you to know that Sarugi is not just a bastard, he is an evil bastard. Mr. Mitaguchi introduces Sarugi to some evil friends of his.
Yes.
Miss Yang and Mr. Liang. You can tell they're evil, because this is a movie that was made in Japan, and
they
these
are
characters
Chinese.
are Chinese. This is not me making any judgment on Chinese people at all, but if you watch a movie made in China and there's a Japanese character, they're the bad guys. If you watch a movie in Japan and
or
there's
in
a Chinese,
China, okay,
yeah, I did that one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
If you watch
I
a
was
movie
not
in Japan,
listening, and I just assumed you did the Japan one first.
You get the idea.
And so, even though I wasn't listening, I was like, "No, you're wrong."
There's some racism to be had in the movie, is what we're saying.
As you're going to find in most exploitation.
In most exploitation,
unfortunately.
This is something you have to grapple with as a fan of exploitation movies. As a fan of old movies in general.
Yeah.
I remember as a kid being really into the Universal horror movies, getting to The Mummy 4 and being like, oh god, when it takes place in Louisiana and there's a black character right out of Gone with the Wind running around just saying the worst kind of dialogue, which I will not repeat.
That's probably for the best.
Yeah. But Tsurugi is known, even in Hong Kong, even to these Chinese mobsters, he is known as a man who can make the impossible possible. Every time anyone talks about Tsurugi in this movie, all I hear is the guy from I think Rambo 2 being like, "There's no one who can touch him, General. No one in your whole damn army."
I just got a flash where I wish the second Street Fighter movie was like a thing like John Wick, where he's like out of the game now, and everyone's trying to pull him back in.
That would be if Sonny Chiba didn't hate this character so much. That would be the movie we would make now.
Yes,
where it'd be like
the man's unfortunately dead, and even if he
did he die?
He is dead.
Oh, I didn't realize
he passed
that.
away pretty recently, I believe.
Right.
But either way, he would be elderly.
Yes, he would. But like just like Rambo 4, where he comes back and just like absolutely obliterates a bunch of people into bloody entrails.
Okay,
it'd be fantastic. Yeah, so they want Tsurugi to kidnap Sarai from the Seibukan Karate School, and since he is a karate man, he is the only man for the job.
Takes a karate man to beat a karate man.
As we found out in the opening, that's exactly right.
Rock, paper, scissors, karate man, karate man.
They had to take Karate Man out of that game because no matter what you pick, Karate Man always wins.
Whether it's Karate Man 1 or Karate Man 2. And if both players draw Karate Man as they would every time, it just becomes a slapping contest.
Yes. Slapping contest to the death because you're a real Karate Man at that point.
Exactly. Well, if you both throw Karate Man 1, that's like the training wheels mode. But if you throw Karate Man 2,
oh shit,
it's to the death.
Oh shit. And even if one man throws Karate Man 1 and the other man throws Karate Man 2, that means Karate Man 2 has to kill Karate Man 1.
Yes.
It's not a matter of honor at that point. So there's some haggling. We have a very intense haggling scene between Tsurugi and these characters. And finally, Tsurugi says that he's not into what they're selling.
No.
He tries to walk away from the table, and they decide that he can't leave because they've told him what they're planning to do.
Yeah.
Tsurugi does this incredible move, which I have never seen in anything else.
So damn good.
The scene does not even require this level of acrobatics.
It's just, again, I know
he's put Tsurugi in an armbar, and in order to get out of it, Tsurugi literally does like a full like somersault, front flip in midair, and twists the guy around. So he now has this other guy in this arm lock.
So damn cool.
It's fuck, man.
Like. Again, as we learned, this is not Sonny Chiba.
Yeah.
But I like to imagine that old Shinichi was like, it's been a while. It's been like 5 minutes since I did something cool. Why am I not doing something cool here?
Why am I not doing something cool?
Hey, I can do this insane flip. If only someone gave Sonny Chiba a skateboard.
Oh my god.
Imagine what the man could have achieved.
Now I'm imagining hackers, but the bad guy is Sonny Chiba.
And while he's typing, he's just...
He puts him into an arm lock and flips open his shirt to reveal a tattoo on his arm that identifies Mr. Liang as a member of the Goryu Kai, a Hong Kong-based assassination company that's a subsidiary of the Mafia!
Adios, Mafia.
Adios, Mafia.
Here's an interesting thing. In the version on Tubi, that English dub, this man is all this China stuff is gone.
All of it's gone. Yeah.
It's still there.
I think this is the same dub that I saw on the Blu-ray.
It's still there. Mm-hmm. All these scenes are still there, but they're all Japanese. And this man is a member of the Yakuza.
Yes, because it's a movie from Japan, so we have to name check the Yakuza.
We can't have all these countries.
Yeah,
it's too many countries.
It's too many countries.
Goryu Kai, what is that?
What is it? What is that Dragon Ball Z character? What's going on? But yeah, I was really disappointed because this scene has some of my favorite lines in the movie.
Yeah.
Right after he reveals it, and he looks at Mutaguchi with this playful little smile, and he's like, "Oh, you're getting involved with the Goryu Kai now, Mutaguchi. Oh shit."
I don't know why I just thought of this, but Shinichi Chiba's Han Solo.
Motherfucker, yes. Like, yeah, absolutely.
In the version where Toshiro Mifune also plays Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Which was a real thing that George Lucas wanted Toshiro Mifune to play Obi-Wan Kenobi and didn't work out. George Lucas famously was like, "Oh no, I don't Man, it's too much that I show my character Han Solo killing a man in cold blood in the opening of Star Wars. I have to take that back. I mean, imagine if Han Solo had sold some innocent woman into sex trafficking in the opening of fucking Star Wars.
No. What happens is they go to the bar, they meet him, and they're like, "Well, how are you gonna pay me?"
Yeah,
and he's like, he looks at Luke and he's like, "Your ass will make money."
Mutaguchi, realizing that now Tsurugi knows even more than he did when they initially wanted to kill him, pulls out a gun. But Tsurugi just throws Liang at him. Tsurugi reminds them that while he may be a supervillain, he's an honorable supervillain, and that there's an evil code of conduct that he follows. My favorite line of the movie. Yeah. There's an evil code of conduct, and he has a tight
I wish he would have
mouth.
pulled out a handbook.
Just like I've studied Bad Horse's manual for the Council of Doom. I know the 411, and he's just like I have a very tight mouth, and he pushes the doors open behind him and just like moonwalks right out of there. Tsurugi really should be the lamest person in the universe, but he's so fucking cool.
It's all
Chiba.
Don't
get it?
Chiba's just, I don't know. He unlocks something as this character. Which
he's
just
so fucking magnetic.
And I saw Wolf Guy before I saw this because I'd been hearing about Sonny Chiba.
Right.
So I think he had just passed away at that point. So it was like, I need to check this dude out. And Wolf Guy's a fun movie. It's not bad, but I was not as taken with Chiba as I am in this movie.
Well, I mean, this was a big, even though he wasn't a fan of the story or the character, this was a big career move for Sonny Chiba, so I'm sure that he was like, I'm going to take advantage of this shit. I'm not going to let this pass me by. But yeah, later, Tsurugi and Rakuda are having a cute couples workout session.
Yeah, they're working out. It's a little comedy scene.
Little comedy scene where Rakuda keeps pretending that he's working out whenever Tsurugi's looking at him, and then really isn't.
And also barking orders at Tsurugi about how to do his workout.
But then a bunch of Liang and his army of assassins burst in. Tsurugi drops his weights and just launches into these fucking people.
And here's where you really start to see the brutality of this man's style. There's a reason the movie is called The Street Fighter. It's because even though he's doing hella dope karate, it still feels like the man is just going nuts.
And here's where I noticed, we talked about the way he moves reminding me of an angry cat.
Yeah.
I wondered if that was an intentional choice on his part, because I don't remember him moving like that in Sister Street Fighter. I remember him having a more traditional stance in those movies. I wonder if because this character is such a broken, on his back all the time, scrappy asshole, for lack of a better term, that maybe that was an acting choice on his part to be just this guy's an alley cat. This guy's literally a scrappy little forgotten thing.
I would not put it past him from everything you've told me today.
Right.
Oh, man, I would have killed for an Inside the Actors studio with Sonny Chiba.
Oh my God.
With James Lipton just being like, one time you kicked a man in the back of the head so hard his eyeballs popped out. Tell me about that.
Exactly. The fight scene's very hard to describe a fight scene.
Absolutely.
About as hard to describe a musical number is in a musical.
Just know that it's awesome.
It's so great.
Tsurugi has no mercy ever.
No.
And it ends with something... A lot of this movie will live in my mind rent-free forever.
Yes.
But the first real moment of that...
Yes.
Tsurugi has a dude up against a wall. He's sitting up against a wall.
It's Liang.
Oh, is it Liang?
Yeah.
He puts his fist against the dude's mouth, pulls it back, and then, really quickly strikes him.
Just like Bruce Lee punches him right in the fucking teeth.
And there's a pause, and then he starts to spit out teeth, and then just a blood spray out of his mouth. It's so fucking brutal and insane.
And blood just flowing out of this man's mouth like a fucking anime. Just
another Aquid reference that constantly occurs to me, and occurs to me all throughout this movie, is the phrase, "the dude has got no mercy." And that absolutely describes Chiba.
That could be the tagline of this movie.
It should be the tagline of this movie.
The dude has got no mercy. I think the actual tagline was first X-rated action movie in America,
Probably.
which is also a good tagline.
Yeah.
He makes Liang spit out every one of his top row of teeth, leaving with a mouthful of blood, and tells him to tell Yang that he's her enemy now.
When you interrupt leg day.
That's a cardinal sin in the
Yeah.
book of Suguri.
Also, again, I just love how easy it is to find Tsurugi's hideout. I imagine he's in whatever.
He's in the book.
Yeah, I was about to say, like,
He's just in the yellow pages.
the yellow pages, E under evil guys.
In return for his failure, Yang just kind of she meets up with Liang, and Yang just has like this sort of deep breath. Is like, okay, suicide or death. What do you want?
No, it's fucking better than that.
Okay,
She's
what
like,
is it?
Suicide or execution.
That's right.
And
he's
I
just,
fucking love it. This is the best movie. And she's in like this riding outfit.
That's right.
Absolutely gorgeous red riding outfit.
Mm-hmm.
Not like Red Riding Hood, but like a lady who's about to go riding.
Like yeah, exactly. And Liang freaks out. He tries to get away, and she shoots him in the fucking back.
She shoots him several times.
Oh yeah.
She shoots him in the back. Then he like flips over and she keeps shooting.
You just gotta.
Yeah.
We cut back to Tsurugi, who, despite the fact that he has not accepted the assignment and has now declared Yang as his enemy, has shown up at the Seibukan school, decides to go in and just beat up everyone.
That's his love language. He doesn't know how else to, like, he can't just go in and be like, hey, I want to help you.
Oh, man.
He doesn't... Actually, the Return of the Street Fighter should be Tsurugi going to therapy.
No, it really should. The fucker needs it, as we find out later in the scene. But Tsurugi goes in and just cleans everyone's clock on his way. Just casually walking through the school, beating the shit out of everyone he meets until he gets to Sarai, in which he forces himself upon her.
Yeah.
The only way he knows how to interact with women.
With a kiss. He doesn't, like...
Yeah, no, he doesn't fully, like, rape her, but he goes and he forces a kiss on her while also still beating people up. I should be remarked upon. And finally, Master Kendo comes in and says, what do you want? And he says, you're supposed to be hot shit. I want to fight you.
Someone calls someone the best karate man in all of Japan.
Right, yeah. Someone called Kendo...
I haven't used my preferred phrase to refer to Sonny Chiba.
What's that?
The man from Japan.
The man from... Where did that come from?
I don't know.
Okay. Because you've used that multiple times when we've watched Sonny Chiba movies, and I never knew where it came from.
Someone other than him, I believe, was once described as the man from Japan, like in something, but I just think of...
Just that
Sonny Chiba is the definitive
the man from
Japan for me.
I get
Even though I've seen like more Toshiro Mifune movies,
Mm-hmm.
more movies with Tetsuro Waka, Dr. Daddy from Lone Wolf and Cub. Ogami.
Dr. Daddy, yeah. Dr. Daddy.
The actor who plays Ogami in Lone Wolf and Cub.
Yeah.
I've seen more movies with him.
Right.
I got the Zatoichi set, so I'm going to be seeing more movies with...
You've seen a lot of Japanese movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Shinichi Chiba, the man from Japan...
Is the man from Japan. He's the closest thing to a human Godzilla that we'll ever get. He's just like...
those two should have fought.
Fucking A. Just absolute path of nuclear destruction everywhere that he goes.
I just picture him like riding Mothra and delivering like a flying knee to Godzilla's snout.
Be still my beating heart. Holy shit. Anyway, so yeah, Tsurugi wants a bout. That's his phrase. He uses. He wants a bout with Kendo. Absolute madman. Kendo agrees.
So we'll say this now. I'm going to say this now.
Go for it.
Kendo is the only, pretty much the only dude who takes Tsurugi in the movie. Like,
yeah.
Later,
and even he, it's more of like a standstill fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Kendo looks like an elderly Mario.
Yes, he does. Yes, he is. And he is. I would absolutely describe him as a Japanese Bob Hoskins. Yes.
Sure. Yeah. He's. I just love it that this portly old man is the brick wall that Tsurugi can't punch through.
Absolutely. And this scene, I think that when people think about dojo clearing scenes, I think it's fair to say most people think of Fists of Fury.
Sure, I've seen many.
Sure.
Not to brag.
Sure. But I think that, like, most people probably think of Fists of Fury, or they think of a movie that was intentionally referencing Fists of Fury, like Kill Bill. That's sort of the dojo clearing sequence that most dojo clearing sequences are referencing when they talk about it. I think that this scene is an intentional reference to Fists of Fury. And I have a couple reasons for that. One, the movie came out in 1974, Fists of Fury came out in 1972.
Gotcha.
It was very fresh in the public consciousness. Two, Fists of Fury, the sequence where Bruce Lee clears that dojo.
Clear that dojo!
My favorite game show of all time.
Oh my god, I watch that every week.
It's like martial artists, like, sort of drawing out their game plan about how they're going to clear the dojo, like a football chalkboard and everything, and then they go in and they enact their plan. Every week, absolute killer.
And then someone comes in and helps restore the dojos. It becomes Dojo Rescue.
Oh my god!
It is like, oh man, you guys, no wonder you got cleared.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so...
These shoji panels gotta come out. We're gonna put in some chrome work.
But yeah, so it starts. Bruce Lee goes in. He starts fighting a bunch of the students, and then eventually the sort of overweight sensei of the dojo comes out, and they fight. It's a bit more of a challenge for Bruce Lee, but Bruce Lee's character in that movie, Chen Zhen, is presented as basically Superman, so nothing's really a challenge for him. And there comes this famous bit where the sensei literally grabs Chen Zhen and just tosses him through the air.
Because it's Chinese, it would be the Sifu.
Well, but this is a Japanese
Oh,
school,
I'm sorry.
So he's a sensei. Yeah, because again, this is one of those movies where the entire point is we're Chinese and we hate the Japanese.
Yes. See also Ip Man.
Right. The entire Ip Man franchise. But yeah, so he just picks up Bruce Lee and tosses him. Bruce Lee does a flip and lands on his feet with no problems whatsoever. Just sort of like scratches his nose in that Bruce Lee way, and then gets right back into the fight. We get a brief moment of the sensei just being like absolutely shocked that this happened. In this scene, I don't know if it's been communicated from the constant assaults, the criminal interactions, the mercenary attitude, the general lack of decorum. Tsurugi is not Superman.
No. Which I love. I love when characters take damage. I'll mention this in any action movie and anything. I love when our main character's taking damage.
Tsurugi is like the martial arts movie equivalent, is almost the martial arts movie equivalent of like a John McClane character.
Sure.
Where like, yeah, he's still like a superhuman force of fucking power, but he does take fucking damage.
Yeah.
And
that first Die Hard gets talked about a lot, but he's more human in that, so of course he's going to take damage.
That's what I'm more talking about, like that kind of John McClane, where he's
not a superhuman, he's just
a guy,
clever.
Yeah, but I mean, like Tsurugi is not a human; he's a supervillain.
No, he's a fucking beast.
He's a fucking monster, but like he does take damage, and in this scene, I think that it's an intentional reference. He fights all the students, he beats them no problem. He goes up against the again overweight leader of the sensei of the school, and once again it's kind of a standstill fight, much more brutal than the Bruce Lee fight, of course, because it's this movie. And then the sensei grabs him and throws him. He does a flip just like Bruce Lee. He lands a little bit more unsteadily than Bruce Lee, but he still lands on his feet. But instead of turning around and seeing the sensei shocked that he landed on his feet, the sensei has not waited for him to recover and is already up in his business, grabs him, immediately tosses him again, and this time he lands on the floor like Wile E. Coyote, goes skidding across the floor and breaks the wall with his face. Yeah. And also, of course, breaks his own face on the wall. It's so fucking good. Like, it's such a, like, again...
It's a brilliant move.
In this environment, in the 70s, when martial arts movies were so... prevalent, so over seen by everybody, oversaturating the market. What a statement of purpose to say, this ain't that. Yeah. This ain't what you've seen. This is fucking Tsurugi. and he's going to get his face broken on a wall.
Let's not oversell it. This doesn't happen much throughout the rest of the film.
No.
He's going to take a few hits, but
he's still a superhuman monster. But
we're seeing him getting beat.
As Brad pointed out, like, this is the only guy who, like, really, aside from Junjo later, really stands up to him. Sonny Chiba makes a couple of wild claims in the interview on the disc.
Yeah? What, that he invented the internet?
Not quite that wild, but, like, in the same vein. He claims that Bruce Lee really wanted to work with him.
Okay.
That they could never make their schedules work, and then Bruce Lee died. Yeah, Brad just rolled his eyes, and I feel that in my soul. The wilder claim that he makes is that Jackie Chan was a huge fan of his. That's not the wild part. I buy that, sure. Yeah. Jackie Chan was a huge fan of his, and grew up on his movies. The timelines for that do not match up at all. And met with Sonny Chiba and asked him why he never used stuntmen in his movies, and that it inspired Jackie to promise to Sonny that he would never use a stuntman in any of his movies. And I'm like, dude, I love you already. Shut up.
Obviously that's not true. But wouldn't it be great if it was?
That would be amazing if it was.
Fucking fantastic.
I would love that. It's categorically not.
No.
But it would be amazing if it was. I want that to be true. It's not. It's fucking not. Sonny Chiba, maybe not as cool as Tsurugi.
He's a man. He's a man. He's an actor. He's allowed his faults.
He's allowed his foibles.
Was this interview with old Chiba or young Chiba?
This is with old Chiba.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, you know,
this is like towards the end of his life, I guess. Probably. This was in the 90s when the movie was being re-released.
Gotcha.
In 97, I think. I'm not sure.
So, you know how old people are. They're liars.
I have observed this. Yes. Yeah.
So it happens.
Yeah, it does happen.
Your brain just turns to mush.
It turns into the oatmeal that you eat.
Yeah. I already said mush, so I can't. The mush that you eat, the gruel.
The gruel.
The old people gruel.
The old people gruel.
Issue with your Social Security checks.
Oh man, I got my Social Security check and my little bag of gruel. Just add water.
You ever had gruel? It's hard to find a restaurant that serves it. And it's hard to find a hearty gruel. Like a hearty, filling gruel. That's even hard.
It's hard to find a good gruel these days.
I mean, you have a bowl of gruel, it's not getting you through the day. When you have to go to the factory as a child and get your little fingers caught in a industrial sewing machine.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
You're going, I wish I had a protein bar instead of just a thin bowl of gruel.
Just a thin bowl of gruel.
That you're eating out of a wooden bowl I carved myself.
You know what? I think I'll just say it. Millennials are ruining the gruel industry.
They are. They're killing it.
They're killing the gruel industry. They're absolutely killing it.
It's not keto friendly. That's the problem.
Exactly. It's not keto friendly.
So Kendo has Tsurugi on the ground. He's like, I know you.
Yeah. So wait a second.
I met your daddy.
I know a Tsurugi. Wasn't your dad that weirdo who went to Hong Kong and tried to fuse Japanese and Chinese martial arts together? And this causes Tsurugi to have a weird flashback.
To when he was a child.
When he was a chat?
I was going to say, I was still thinking about daddy. So I combined child and daddy for chatty.
Chatty.
But I also referred to young Tsurugi as baby Tsurugi.
Sure.
So that was also on my mind.
Right.
But we see baby Tsurugi. It's a black and white flashback. It's like Schindler's List.
I was thinking I guess it's the same thing, but it does kind of look like the flashbacks with Magneto's past in the X-Men movies.
Here's a note I made.
Yeah.
I wish... let's describe what happens, and I'll do this bit.
Tsurugi's father was arrested and executed in front of him by firing squad.
Pretty brutal firing squad sequence.
Pretty fucked up, brutal firing squad sequence. And he was identified as like a traitor or a spy.
And Tsurugi tries to say, like, no, my daddy's not a spy. And they're like, shut up.
Shut up, child.
Shut up, half-breed.
Exactly. And the last words that are spiraling through his mind when he thinks of his father are this horrible creed that his father impressed upon him. Don't trust anybody. You can only count on yourself. Train yourself, body and mind. Be stronger than anyone else. Don't let anybody get the better of you. Which kind of fully sums up Tsurugi's character.
Yeah.
Not only because he's, a bastard, but also because, like, the things that he said to the brother, he's like, you make me sick. I can't stand people who don't keep their promises. There's, like...
You're proving Papa right!
Yeah, there's a thing in there of you can't let anyone get the better of you. You can't let anyone... get you take advantage of you. You have to be stronger than everyone else. You have to be the one who is taking advantage of everyone else. So when someone breaks a promise to him, it's like a threat to his standing as the toughest guy in the world. When he was told, hey, we want you to go after one of the toughest karate men in the world, Master Kendo, he may not have taken the job, but he could not rest until he fought Master Kendo.
Gotcha.
Because he was told that there's a guy stronger than you, and he can't let that go.
No.
That's just a little knife in the back of his brain forever.
So while I was watching this sequence, I was thinking it wouldn't make sense for it to happen. Mm-hmm. But what if Baby Magneto and Baby Tsurugi got together? Now, I know Tsurugi's not a mutant. That we know.
That we know of. Although this movie could be interpreted as, like, Sabretooth the movie. Like,
it sort of is.
It sort of is.
A Logan-style movie with Tsurugi would be great, too.
Oh, that'd be great.
Oh, with an old Chiba.
Oh, good. Yeah, I'd buy it. There was a moment, because, like, he's got this, like, fantastic 70s on in this movie. And, like, with the big... like almost mutton choppy sideburns, and I kept thinking, like, I could see him as Wolverine.
Yeah.
Like he's like with Wolverine's like berserker rage that they always describe in the comics.
But I was hoping for a Magneto Baby Tsurugi team up where they're like, I'm starting the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. I know you're not a mutant, but
that we know of.
I'm willing to make a case because we both have shared trauma.
And also you are an absolute madman.
Yeah.
which is also the way that, by the way, Sonny Chiba described the character in the interview. He's like, Tsurugi's madman. It's like, yeah, you get it.
I don't know why, but when we... for whatever reason, the phrase madman gave me this strong mental image of Sonny Chiba, like, being invited into a room, maybe by Magneto, and he just, like it's a kitchen. He just starts going through the cupboards and, like, eating food, just, like, tearing into cereal boxes and shoving cereal against his face. Like, that's how out of control he is.
Like Cookie Monster.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not even getting in there. It's just sort of bouncing off.
And just going... and Quicksilver looks at Magneto and is like, are you fucking kidding me? The one non-mutant, and it's this guy.
And Magneto's just like, yes.
We're both war orphans, or as I call us, warfins.
And Quicksilver's just like, Dad, shut the fuck up. But, yeah, so Tsurugi's badass theme music kicks in, and as he does more of his breathing exercises, and, like, gets himself up, he's getting ready, he's centering his power, he's summoning up every bit of tomato juice he still has in his system, and he clears those sinuses and just flies into battle, and fights Kendo finally to a standstill, before Kendo's like, okay, I get what you're about. What do you want? And he's like, oh,
now that's out of the way.
He's like, oh, I want.
Let's get down to brass tacks.
And he's like, oh, I want a job.
Like, I'll protect your niece.
Yeah, no, they cut to them having a more formal job interview, and
what are your 3 biggest weaknesses? I have no weaknesses.
Oh man, I wish.
How many ping pong balls do you think could fill a city bus?
But yeah, he says he fills them in on all the stuff that with the mafia, offers his services to go kill the bad guys for them. Not enough to protect Sarai. You have to kill the people going after Sarai, or they will never stop coming after her.
Because they can't, they won't, and they don't stop.
Exactly. And so Tsurugi, again, knows the evil code of conduct by heart. So he knows that vengeance is not enough of a reason to go after someone.
You need money too.
As one of the greatest members of the evil Council of Doom, the Joker once said, if you're good at something, never do it for free.
Yes.
So he's going after the bad guys by protecting the thing that they want, Sarai. Sarai is, for some reason, not comfortable with having Tsurugi around. Wonder why.
I don't know.
But she refers
Maybe there's
to him,
an audio commentary that explains it.
She refers to him using some of the same terms we've used to describe him. She calls him a wild beast. And Tsurugi is just like... And Tsurugi does take this as a compliment. This is the moment we mentioned. He says to Kendo, I am worse than the villains. Because of that, I understand the way they think. Kendo says... You seem to have some rage issues. I noticed it when we were fighting. Is it because your dad was a failure?
It's because your dad sucks? Is that the problem, Tsurugi? Is it because your dad's a dumb piece of shit who got shot?
And Tsurugi says, absolutely not. I am one man, my father another. My daddy issues have nothing to do with anything about me.
Then he pulls out his father's skinned face and just presses it to his own in a ritual he does for 15 minutes every day. Doesn't actually happen. I know that sounds like something that could possibly happen in this movie or in any of the movies we talk about. But that doesn't actually happen.
You have to be careful on this show.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that doesn't actually happen. But Kendo says, you know what? Not only do I trust you, Tsurugi...
I like the cut of your jib.
I not only trust you, Tsurugi, as a fighter, but also as a man. And even as an audience member who loves this movie, I'm sitting there being like, I wouldn't. That's a stupid thing to say to Tsurugi, of all people.
I mean, would you rather have him before you or again you?
I think I'd rather have him before me than again me. I think that's the right way to go. Meanwhile... Mafia rep Mr. King, Stephen King.
Yes, obviously. Don King.
Both at the same time, yes.
Don King is on Stephen King's shoulders. And they say their lines simultaneously.
I wondered why Mr. King was so tall in this movie. It's because it's Don King and Stephen King in a big trench coat.
And on top of them, Larry King. And he has a copy of The Lion King balanced on his head. And they're all eating King's Hawaiian rolls.
He's reached out to Ding Sao, who is introduced...
Looks like Christopher Walken in the movie Balls of Fury.
Exactly like that. I was going to say, except for his hair, which is honestly Don King's hair.
Yes.
Yeah, he's got Don King's hair, but he's dressed like Christopher Walken from Balls of Fury. And he is a crime boss from some town in China. What was it?
Kowloon.
It's the walled city.
It does, from what I've heard, it's not like the best neighborhood.
Okay, well, Ding Sao is the as he explains later, Ding Sao apparently means he is the throat slitter.
Yes.
Of Kowloon. And so he's essentially the crime boss. He even says to a cop in some scene, like, I am the only law.
I am the law.
In Kowloon, exactly.
I ran for a throat slitter of our town here.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I lost.
Oh, no.
Because of my criminal record.
That's ironic.
You gotta be squeaky clean to get that job. Like,
be squeaky clean.
It's, no pun intended, cutthroat.
Oh, no.
Like, they really dig into your past.
That's, wow. Okay.
Now we're introduced to a few bizarre and tonally dissonant characters for this film. With some of my favorite exploitation movies, there are insane moments that I forget. Mm-hmm. Like, the second time I watched Switchblade Sisters, I forgot that they go to meet some Lady Black Panthers.
Yes, that was wild. Wild.
Which, how can you forget that?
Yeah.
Now it's stuck in my mind because I've seen the movie 3 times at this point.
Right.
But I always forget about these characters. Even on my third watch, I was like, Oh, yeah. There's a blind swordsman in this movie.
Yeah, so Mr. King has
Or as I call him, Zat how creepy.
Perfect. No notes on that. Mr. King has gone to Ding Sao to get more assassins to help him with this situation.
How does your assassin company run out of assassins?
I mean, apparently Mr. Lau took them all to on that assault to Tsurugi's apartment.
Gotcha.
But, so they were looking for some better assassins, and they know that Ding Sao will have the chops for it. Mm-hmm. Ding Sao says not only will he bring his assassins, he's bringing himself, because he's heard of Tsurugi.
Yeah.
As we know, his legend is spread far and wide. He knows Tsurugi.
Yeah, Pete Seeger made a folk song about Tsurugi.
And Tsurugi is a worthy opponent. So Ding Sao brings his 3 assassins, the aforementioned Zato Creepy. Mm-hmm. He also brings an albino knife thrower.
That's right.
And a hulking strongman. An invulnerable strongman.
I always forget about the hulking strongman. Even though he gets taken out in a great way.
He has one of the best...
Yeah.
He's one of the best deaths in this movie. Slight spoilers to later on. The Hulk doesn't make it in this film.
For how colorful these characters are, they are dispatched with little fanfare.
That's very true. That is extremely true.
In any other movie, these guys would be introduced towards the beginning. They'd have their own B plot.
Yeah, and I will say this is something that is, at least in the movies that you've shown me, and I have only seen 2 of the Street Fighter movies, Street Fighter and Sister Street Fighter. At least in those 2 movies, it is a consistent thing that, again, I made a passing reference to this. These movies feel more like classic 60s Marvel comics to me than most Marvel movies do, in a good way. We talked about the Roger Corman Fantastic Four movie feeling like all of the worst elements, all the most hokey elements of the classic Stan Lee Fantastic Four comics. This feels more like a really good early Marvel comic book. And one of the ways that is that they always have a bunch of interesting villains.
Yes, especially in Sister Street Fighter.
Especially
where
in Street
Fighter. She
Fighter.
goes through 24 people with different styles and weapons.
All the different styles and weapons. They pull out an entire Legion of Doom's worth of bad guys for Sister Street Fighter.
You also get a bit of that in The Return of the Street Fighter, where they introduce a bunch of villains who use traditional Japanese weaponry,
right? And
then he eventually fights all the people who are using those weapons.
And you also mentioned in Street Fighter 3 that there's a bad guy who's a mariachi man.
Yeah, with a laser belt.
With a laser belt. I mean, you can't beat that.
No.
That's pretty
Tsurugi
great.
does.
Well, yeah, obviously Tsurugi beats him, but yeah. But he also finds out that his town, Ding Sao's town, is where Junjo ended up.
Yep.
Junjo is very depressed.
It's much like Casablanca, the way everyone just sort of ends up there.
Everyone just sort of ends up there.
Everyone goes to Ding Sao's.
Including not only Junjo, but Junjo's sister, when she was sold into sex trafficking, ended up as one of Ding Sao's sex slaves.
It's like Magnolia, how much paths are crisscrossing.
And because Ding Sao is a karate man,
yes,
he recognizes the karate man-ness in
yes
Junjo and tries to recruit him as another one of his assassins.
And as part of the sign-on bonus, you can have one of my
sex slaves.
And he's like, that's my sister. And Ding Sao's like, weird choice.
Whatever, dude. I don't kink shame my men. but he says,
I know the thing. I've seen Pornhub. I know about this sort of thing.
We have chairs she can get stuck in if that's part of it for you. But no. But he's like, oh no, it's my sister, and she cries when she sees him. And it's like, our brother was killed by Tsurugi.
Not true.
Not true.
It was a karate accident.
It was karate accident. More people are killed by karate accidents every year. Yeah, we really something that needs to be better.
Put bars over your windows if you're going to be doing flying kicks.
Exactly. I have a pamphlet I'm going to hand out at the end of the episode. But Junjo agrees to work for Ding Sao in order to earn his sister's freedom and to avenge his brother by killing Tsurugi.
Yes.
So Tsurugi's sins are beginning to catch up with him.
Mm-hmm.
Back at the ranch, Mr. Bayan, an employee of Sarai's oil company, comes to escort her home. Mr. Bayan is the only Japanese actor I have ever seen who has what I can only describe as Pat Hingle energy.
Who's Pat Hingle? The name sounds familiar.
Yes, Pat Hingle is a character actor that you've definitely seen a lot of. He was Commissioner Gordon in the Tim Burton Batman movies.
Okay.
Is probably the thing most people know him from. He's also, he mainly is just, he embodies in my head that sort of character archetype, like the opposing lawyer in My Cousin Vinny.
Yeah.
That's sort of like, I may be just a small country town gentleman, but I can plainly see, like that sort of like, sort of the same archetype as the mayor from Jaws. That sort of like
Gotcha.
almost carnival huckster kind of American South archetype. That for some reason also exists in this Japanese actor, who's like absolutely giving that exact performance.
They have hicks everywhere.
I guess they have hicks like polished hicks though. It's like a overweight man with the accent,
it's like Pappy O'Daniels
of Scarlett O'Hara. It's like Scarlett O'Hara's accent, but on a heavy set middle aged man, is what the archetype is. But yeah, and so it was very strange for me to watch. But he's there and he says, "I say, Sarai, we gotta go," and they so Sarai and two of Kendo's students come with as they're going to drive to this other. Where is she even going?
I don't know.
I'm not actually sure where they're trying to get her to.
The plot in this movie is that's not what I come there for.
No, that's not what we come for in this movie. Kendo sends two of his students to protect Sarai, and Tsurugi and Rakuda are also following behind in their car. Through some clever traffic maneuvering, they're able to get Tsurugi and Rakuda's car separated from the rest of the convoy, and they are grabbed by a tractor with a gigantic fucking claw.
Yeah.
That just snags their car and yeets it off a fucking bridge.
Now, here, I think it would have been a bold choice to have Tsurugi fight the crane. Like, the crane itself, like, just like, fucking super punch it out of commission.
Oh, my God. That... If this movie had the Street Fighter sequel it should have had, instead of the Street Fighter sequel it did have, that would have been in that version of the sequel.
So it would be like Die Hard, where it becomes more and more of a superhero.
More absurd as it goes on. Like, this movie's already pretty fucking absurd.
Yeah.
But, like, just make it more. Make it more silly. And but instead, Tsurugi's and Rakuda are inside their car, thrown off this bridge.
Yep.
They land in a bit of a mud puddle. We see Tsurugi doing some sort of breathing technique, some sort of technique right before they're tossed. So we know that he's done something.
Yeah.
And we also know that he's the lead.
If you breathe right, car accidents won't hurt you.
That's, yeah, you know, I've seen a bit of Naruto. I'm pretty sure that was something that happened in that show.
Yeah, there's a lot of cars in Naruto.
A lot of cars in Naruto, right?
Karuto, that's what the people call it.
So many cars in Naruto, they call it Karuto. But yeah, so...
Karuto, more like Car Auto.
I'm taking away points for that one. But yeah, so some bad guys, some slick...
And this is a fight with just two people.
This is a fight
like
with
we said,
two people.
The scope does not always increase.
Yes.
But here...
This is one of the most influential moments in the movie. This is one of the moments that has really, like, cemented these two slick actors.
Fuck Citizen Kane.
Yes.
And everything that did for filmmaking.
Yes, literally.
This is the most innovative thing I've ever seen in film.
This, you might be right. Like, this is insane what just happened. But these two slick fuckers in these nice suits come up with their little handguns to check the bodies of Tsurugi and Rakuda. And Tsurugi knocks the guns out of their hands and starts fighting with them Batman style in the mud pits. And just going at it. He breaks a man's arm with one punch, which is already sick as hell, and then twists a guy around so the top of his head is facing him, and delivers another one of his patented soul punches right to the top of his head. It is so powerful that the camera cuts to an X-ray perspective, showing the man's skeleton and showing Tsurugi's hand
denting the fuck out of a rubber skull.
Denting into the top of this man's fucking skull.
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And it's so simple. It's so fucking simple. They got a rubber skull. They made it into a negative.
They made it a negative. They negative.
And they just
footage.
filmed, hopefully, Shinichi Chiba punching that rubber skull.
Yeah. To make a dent.
It's amazing. It is fucking amazing. And then the dude spits out a bunch of blood.
And if you're thinking, oh, that's not that impressive, I've seen Mortal Kombat. This is where they got that fucking shit from.
Yeah.
Like, this is where that comes from. The makers of Mortal Kombat famously were trying to make Jean-Claude Van Damme the video game. That was their original idea. But the
more modern ones that have the X-ray.
Well, even when they were making the initial one, when they were thinking about, like... Because Jean-Claude Van Damme, I think, noped out of the project pretty early on. A lot of the stuff that they did with, all that horrendous gore, the blood splatter everywhere in that game, the gnarly kills, that shit came from this, and as well the X-ray kills that I think they were trying to do in that early game and only really became a thing more recently.
I'm not a big fighting game guy, so...
Yeah, that was based off of this, and then... I guess Street Fighter got the name in the divorce, but they without this movie, you do not have Mortal Kombat, you do not have Street Fighter, and this one scene is a particular note for it, but it is so, even without that connection, this scene just fucking
rocks. Amazing. It's amazing, and again, it's so simple, but it just, what an excellent way to just get across the sheer brutality and intense strength of a man,
to show how devastating Tsurugi really is.
And again, in no world is that any type of a fair or good hit.
No.
Bruce Lee would never do that to somebody, because Bruce Lee always had to be the good guy. He didn't fight dirty.
You know what a better comparison between Tsurugi and an American action hero is? Bruce Lee is John Wayne. He's the stand-up Superman, sort of lawful good character. Tsurugi is Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
He's superhumanly badass. There's going to be a couple scenes in the movie where he gets really fucked up.
Yeah.
But most of the time, he's just going to come in.
Just a mythical dude.
Just a mythical fucking dude. Aim for the heart, Ramon. Otherwise, you'll never stop me. I can absolutely hear Tsurugi saying that. Aim for the heart. But yeah, so that was one of the coolest things that you will ever see in any movie that just happened.
Yep.
But Rakuda points out that even though they've survived, Sarai is too far away by now. She's long gone. But Tsurugi says they don't need to know where their charge is. They know where their enemies are.
Once again, not about actually protecting this woman.
No!
Just finding an excuse to fuck more people up.
He's such a mercenary fuck, and I love it. I love that consistency to his character. The movie never wants you to think that this character
is noble,
is
going to become a good person.
He's a bad person, and the movie fully acknowledges that. But you have to admit, they picked that route, and they stuck to it
absolutely
glue. And I am legitimately fucking impressed, and legitimately, I don't know, just I love that.
No, it's amazing.
That. But yeah, so they head right to Mutaguchi's place, and go right in, start busting heads. Mutaguchi has left the strong man there, the Hulk, to fight off Tsurugi. This is an incredible fight where Tsurugi immediately clocks that this guy is too strong for him.
Yeah.
He is going to get destroyed if he lets this guy put any kind of lay any kind of hands on him.
This guy is our movie's Bolo.
Yes. No, exactly. In fact... Oh man, now I want to see Sonny Chiba versus Bolo.
Yeah, no, who doesn't? What right-thinking person doesn't?
What right-thinking person wouldn't want that? But yeah, so in this...
You had one wish.
Once again, we get to see Sonny Chiba's incredible acrobatic skills.
Yes.
Might be his most impressive skill set, where he's just doing these incredible slides and flips around these guys' moves. Again, some stuff I've never seen before in any other movie, until finally... he thinks of the words of that ancient martial artist, Dwight Schrute. The eyes are the groin of the head.
and he fucking stooges.
Sucking Mo Howard right in the fucking eye, but doesn't stop at the eye, goes through the eye. This is an actual thing I was taught in martial arts. Do not aim for the thing you're hitting, aim past the thing you're hitting. And he goes past to the eyes, right into the fucking skull, in a move that Sonny Chiba insisted in the interview he could actually do, but wouldn't for obvious reasons.
Did he just bring that up out of nowhere? And he's like,
yes!
By the way, when I poked that guy's eyes out and stuck my fingers in his brain, I can do that.
Multiple times throughout the interview, he's like, you can really squish a man's eyes with your fingers. That's a real thing you can do. And I'm like, yeah, I know that. I've rubbed my own eyes. I know how fragile these stupid little grapes in my head are. Like, and he's like, but you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to aim for the vital areas.
That's not what karate's about.
He's like, that's not what karate's about. That's the way ninjas fight, and ninjas are cowards.
Does he say that?
He says that.
Yo, here's what I'm realizing. Chiba-san is 100% as insane as Tsurugi, just in a different way. Yo, I need to check out more interviews with Chiba because he sounds like a fucking insane person.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. Yeah, I think that's very accurate. But yeah, so he absolutely gores this man in the eyeballs with his fingernails.
And again, it's a cheap hit. It's a fucking...
Absolutely. As Sonny Chiba said, it's a cheap hit. It's a cowardly hit. Like, he's like, you even see him, like, he throws a couple of kicks and you can see the wheels turning in the character's head. Again, this is a good movie. It's not just a good action movie. You can see the wheels turning in his head where he's like, okay, I kick him in the stomach, nothing. I kick him in the head, nothing. What's left?
Eyes.
Like, right in the eyes. Like,
and he can't go for below the belt because we have to save that for later.
We have to save that. Oh, God, we have to save that for later. But yeah, so he kills this guy. There's this great acting bit where Tsurugi is just looking at his two fingers, just absolutely drenched in eye blood. And then, like, as Rakuta's talking to him, he just absentmindedly grabs Rakuta's shirt and wipes his fingers off on Rakuta's shirt. But Rakuta is freaking out.
Yeah.
As anyone would, having watched what just occurred in front of him.
But you think he'd be used to it by now.
You would think,
especially... You think this would be like every fucking day for him.
I'm sad. If there's one note I have for this movie... It's that I'm sad that Rakuta only got to kick ass in that one scene in the beginning.
Yeah, I wish he had gotten more chances.
I wish we could have seen like obviously he's not going to be as good as Tsurugi, but just like he did with the cops, just sort of like hopping around and beating him, like staying out of the way and like just knocking people's heads together. That would be great.
Also, I want to briefly touch on what is amazing about this movie in terms of the fight sequences is personally how I judge. One of the things I judge a fight sequence on is how many hits do we get before there's a cut. The more hits you have, the more complex that scene is, the harder it is to do. Mm-hmm. And granted, just because something is technically hard does not make it good, but it damn sure makes it impressive.
Yes.
There are great sequences in this where Chiba is getting off combos. Mm-hmm. He's just hitting. Yeah. And then it cuts and you get more sequences. And it's fucking wonderful.
I think we were a little bit hard when we first watched this movie together because, like... I don't want to say sloppy. That's not the right word. There's a messiness to the style of the fighting in this movie, to his form. But like, I think the fighting in this movie is, having watched it again for this show, legitimately just incredible. Like the actual skill on display is fucking awesome.
His form aside, the skill and the editing choices are amazing.
And even the form is
a character choice.
Is more of a character choice than anything because he's playing a scrappy dude. He's playing
scrappy dude.
Yes.
Exactly. Tsurugi power.
Well, apparently Scooby should never have made Scrappy run from those monsters because Scrappy could have fucking ended them. Yeah. Like the episodes no wonder the episodes quickly went to 2 minutes in length when Scrappy became one of the main cast members.
The reason why 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo only had Daphne was Scrappy was in that, right?
Scrappy was in that, yeah.
And it was Daphne.
It was Daphne, it was Scrappy, it was Scooby, it was Shaggy, and it was Flim Flam.
Flim Flam, yes. Yeah. And Vincent Price.
And Vincent Price.
But the reason why Fred wasn't in that movie is because Scrappy-Doo ripped his dick off.
Spoilers!
There's a little VH1 behind the music for you.
Oh, man. Anyway, Tsurugi gets to the... So Rakuta goes back to start the car so they can get out of there. Tsurugi gets to the top of the tower and comes face to face with Junjo and his sister. By the way, even though these characters are mortal enemies in the movie, if there was one positive thing that Sonny Chiba could say about the making of this movie, it was working with the actor who played Junjo.
Oh, yeah?
Because
did they become lifelong friends?
Apparently they did.
Wonderful.
Apparently they did. The actor who played Junjo was also a martial artist, and apparently, even though... as we said, Sonny Chiba was no slouch when it came to martial arts.
Yep.
He saw the guy playing Junjo do some stuff he had never seen. Was like, could you teach me that?
Nice.
So the guy actually would teach Sonny Chiba stuff on the set, and they would work out together for years afterwards. He's the
barber's barber.
He's the barber's barber, and they would work out together for years afterwards. But yeah,
Keep talking.
Okay.
I'm going to run to the bathroom.
Gotcha. I'll wait for your footsteps to disappear a little bit.
The pitter-patter of my little feet.
Your pitter-patter of your little feet. Junjo admits that Sarai isn't there. She's already been taken to Mudaguchi's villa in Izu. But while Tsurugi is obsessed with winning at everything, he also realizes that this fight that he's about to have with these two martial artists that want to kill him is a distraction. So he launches himself out of the window, breaks the window just like Junjo's brother did, and lands on top of Rakuta's car, which in this case is like a big truck with a big flatbed in the back. He lands in the flatbed back of the truck, and they head for that villa in Izu to find Sarai. Meanwhile, we get a brief scene, which I guess must have happened earlier, maybe, I don't know, where Sarai's two bodyguards fought bravely to save Sarai from being kidnapped. Mr. Bayan has betrayed them, and they are killed gruesomely by the blind swordsman and the albino knife thrower.
Mm-hmm. Is albino an okay term? Can we say albino?
I think it's a medical term. I don't know. I mean, if that is an offensive term, I apologize. It's said in good faith. I only mean to describe the character. But if it is an offensive term, I do apologize. And Brad's looking it up now, so we'll
Person with albinism.
Person with albinism? Is that better? Okay.
That's, to most in the albinism community, the term person with albinism will always be kinder, gentler, less shocking term.
Okay. Well, we'll leave this part in that we looked it up, and we'll just start calling him a person with albinism, a knife thrower.
We could just
with
call him
albinism.
Knife Man.
Knife Man? Okay, we'll call him Knife Man from now on. Tsurugi and Rakuta arrive just as Sarai's.
They're making a water entrance.
And Sarai's about to be assaulted
by Bondo.
Once again by Bondo.
Bondo is in a sharp blue suit that I really liked.
It is a nice blue suit.
It's a great.
It is a nice blue suit.
I just wanted to point that out. Like
taking off to assault this woman.
And
but so this uncomfortable scene is ended when Tsurugi bursts in through the window.
He, I guess, throws a grappling hook up and scales up the cliff face.
Yep.
Bursts in through the window and straight up rips off Bondo's ding dong.
I'm just gonna let that hang in the air for a second.
Yeah, sure. In a movie where you just saw an X-ray punch, it's amazing that there's still things that could shock you.
Right, yeah, but
straight up just ripping a man's ding-dong off.
There are definitely plenty of movies...
The dude has got no mercy!
No mercy! There are definitely movies where I've heard people threaten that.
Yeah.
There are definitely movies where I've heard people allude to that happening. Mm-hmm. I don't think I've ever seen a movie where he literally just reaches in, viscerally grabs a man's dick and balls and just, rips it off. We don't see the dick and balls. We see
See a bloody mess of boxer shorts.
bloody mess of his boxer shorts, but that's enough.
Yeah.
Like,
I feel like I've seen movies where dicks have gotten ripped off, but I cannot recall what they are off the top of my head. But this is my favorite.
yeah, no, I think this honestly, this tops the scene in RoboCop where he shoots the guy in the dick. I don't know if it quite tops the scene in our RoboCop remake where he shoots a million guys in the dick.
No, it does not.
But it comes close. RoboCop never made physical contact with the dick.
No. No, and that's the big problem with RoboCop. Is RoboCop
so
never
homophobic.
touches a penis.
He never touches a penis.
Never. He could even touch his own penis.
Never touches his own penis.
We don't know if Murphy still has a penis. And all during RoboCop, I'm like, does that man have a dick?
Tell us if RoboCop has a dick.
And it's Paul Verhoeven. You know he knows.
You know he knows. You know that was in the movie Bible. Anyway, so Sarai is so upset, and she seems to want to kiss Tsurugi, but either through guilt over her current situation or because it's just not as fun when it's offered freely to him, Tsurugi refuses and just helps her get to Rakuta's boat and tells them, "Hey, get downstream. I'm gonna take care of this." And all the henchmen come barreling down at him, and he just launches into another fight scene immediately. He, of course, beating everybody senseless as usual. Tsurugi is confronted by Ding Sao himself. He explains his name, as we mentioned before.
And he has a very pretty looking blade and a sheath.
Awesome blade.
That he's like, I brought this. It was my carry-on the plane, but you know what?
It's like, this is my throat slitting blade. This is my throat slitting blade.
But he just tosses it away.
Yeah. He literally tosses it away. He's like, Tsurugi, you're worth fighting with my bare hands. And he goes in.
With my mitts.
Put up your dukes. And they go in to fight. And the two of them are very much equally matched.
Yes.
They keep getting each other in these holds. They're like doing that sort of like stand-up wrestling bit, which is when everyone checks out of the UFC fight.
Yep. Which seems to be most of UFC from what I've seen. It is most
of UFC, yeah. Real wrestling, kind of boring to watch, unfortunately. Yeah. Especially if you don't know, like, the technique being used. They're getting into it, and Ding Sao at one point has a punch that's so powerful it just misses Tsurugi and shatters a rock behind him. Mm-hmm. Pretty great. So again, fighting a tractor with a giant metal claw, not out of the realm of possibility for this franchise.
Exactly.
But they're too evenly matched, and their fight is interrupted by Yang, who says, "Look, Ding Sao, if you win, he's dead. We need to interrogate him to find out where Sarai is." So they strap Tsurugi to a tree and start torturing him.
And around abouts here, we get the most beautiful shot of the movie. Mm-hmm. A movie that should not have beautiful shots, but
you wouldn't expect
we get this sort of distant shot of the cliff face. The tree is right at the edge of a cliff. It has these beautiful fall colors. Yeah, like it's this nice picture of him tied to a tree. Mm-hmm. It's so gorgeous.
It's something right out of the Tree of Life.
Yeah, sure. I've never seen Tree of Life.
I don't know. It's supposed to have very beautiful photography of trees.
Okay.
Yeah. I imagine there's someone tied to a tree getting tortured in that movie.
I imagine. I've never seen I have seen one. What's that director's name?
Terrence Malick.
Terrence Malick. I've seen one Terrence Malick movie.
Which would you
Badlands. His first.
I've seen
which is violent, so I assume all his movies are violent, mm-hmm. and all his movies, aside from Badlands, have ding-dongs getting ripped off.
I've seen I think it was called The Red Line or something.
The Thin Red Line.
The Thin Red Line, and that also involved violence, so I imagine that you are correct. Did not involve a dick getting ripped off, though.
No one ripped off Tim Blake Nelson's dick?
No one ripped off Tim Blake Nelson's dick, nor George Clooney's dick for the brief moment he was on screen, from which he was told he was the lead of the movie.
Just like Casino Royale.
Yeah, just like Casino Royale. In Thin Red Line, in most Terrence Malick movies, a whole bunch of celebrities are in there because they were told by Terrence Malick that they were the lead of the film. He shoots 2 hours of footage with them and then cuts all of it out of his film. It's a common thing that Terrence Malick has done to a lot of actors, and it's very funny.
It's like a prank show.
Who thinks they're getting a great opportunity to work with director Terrence Malick this week? Oh, shit. I guess that sucks.
This week, the prank's on George Clooney. Normally a prankster on set. We'll see how he likes it.
Okay, Tsurugi's being tortured but will not talk because, again, he's an absolute madman.
Yes.
But Rakuda walks into the middle of the scene. He was off with Sarai. They realize that Tsurugi's been gone for a while, so he comes back. He sees him and is like, "Oh no, darling, my darling, you can't die." At this point, Yang is
playing Russian roulette.
Playing Russian roulette with Tsurugi's head, which is great.
It is great. And she's using that as an impetus for Rakuda to spill the beans.
Yep, before we reach the chamber that actually does have the bullet. But Rakuda,
and Tsurugi's going, "Don't tell her anything.
Don't tell her anything." Tsurugi's... but Rakuda says... sorry, I was laughing at something that happens way later. Rakuda finally does reveal where Sarai is, to Tsurugi's horror.
She's on Dantooine.
She's on Dantooine. See, Lord Vader, she can't be reasonable. Rakuda spills the beans, and Ding Sao is like, "Okay, can I fight him to the death now? God."
Like a child on a road trip.
Exactly. So they're like, "Fine, whatever." And he uses his ornamental blade to chop the ropes off of Tsurugi. But Tsurugi, I guess, was tied in a more precarious situation than they thought, because he immediately falls off the tree.
And here we get the dummy.
And
the great Chiba dummy.
Yeah, this is where the dummy is. This scene is edited well. I will say that.
It is.
They
it's
cut
just
between
a super fake dummy.
They cut between the dummy and close-up green screen footage of Sonny Chiba pretending to be falling pretty well, but it is a very... It's like the dummies in Temple of Doom. It's just it's just without the leg kicking mechanic. It's just so obvious. And they just fall down the cliff into the water. Rakuda finds... Did you have something you wanted to say?
No.
Okay. Rakuda finds Tsurugi's body, attempts to take care of him. Tsurugi's alive, of course. Mm-hmm. You can't kill a man like Tsurugi.
Nope.
But he feels betrayed. Rakuda's like, "I didn't want you to die." And Tsurugi... This is the thing I was laughing at earlier. Tsurugi says, "Do you think that would have killed me?" Or something like that. It was
or like, "I always have a plan," or...
No, but he's literally like... they couldn't have killed me, or something like something like that. We're implying that bullet to the face is not enough to kill Tsurugi, which I fully believe.
I believe it too.
But yeah, so Tsurugi says, "Rakuda, you go back to Tokyo alone.
We're Splitsville, baby.
We're Splitsville, baby." Rakuda can't bear the thought of being apart from his one true love. He says, if they're no longer partners, let Rakuda be Tsurugi's slave. And he will. He says, "I belong to you, Tsurugi." But Tsurugi only tells Rakuda that he's not cut out for their line of work, and walks away. Again, lovers will not hear anything against that. But Sarai has been brought to the docks. Tsurugi's not far behind, and is met by Zato Creepy.
Zato Creepy, yes. And also Knife Man's there as well. He comes in a bit later, doesn't he?
He is there briefly during the scene. I think he leaves Zato Creepy behind and follows them, because I think he's actually later on the boat.
But Zato Creepy comes in, and he has his blade, and Tsurugi's blocking it with his gauntlets.
It's just fucking awesome. That's so great.
That's so
great. Cool.
And then in comes Kamen Rider.
Yeah, Tsurugi and Zato Creepy are a bit too... They're a bit too evenly matched. So yeah, in comes a motorcycle rider in a motorcycle helmet, distracting the blind swordsman. Zato Creepy, tired of this shit, so he almost immediately just like murders the biker dude. Just slashes him across the chest, which gives Tsurugi the opening he needs to break that sword in half and murk this dude.
Now I wanna point this out in a movie where people are taking a lot of hits. Whoever the stuntman on this bike is, after he gets slashed, he drives sort of into a corner of a wall.
Yes.
And this stuntman takes a fucking hit.
Yes.
This stuntman like the most impressive, like not the most impressive punch in the movie or attack in the movie, but the most impressive hit that I saw was this poor man slamming into the corner of this building.
That's a very good point. Yeah, no, that's...
And here's where Tsurugi delivers a super chop.
Yes, just like a karate chop right to the middle of this guy's head. We do not get an X-ray this time, but we can imagine it. Mm-hmm. We've seen it now. And yeah, the top of this guy's head explodes into a fountain of blood. Beautiful. Just beautiful. Should have sent a poet.
So Tsurugi unmasks the rider, and who should it be but Rakuda?
It's Rakuda. Rakuda came back to protect him even after the cruel things he said to him. And
anyone with any genre savvy knew that Mr. Comedic Sidekick was going to get murked.
Well, yeah. And Rakuda begs Tsurugi for his forgiveness before dying.
Tsurugi's... And motherfucking Tsurugi cries a single tear.
Just one. That's all the man will get from him.
He's like crybaby.
He's like, Tsurugi is crybaby. I wouldn't be surprised if his dad was a serial killer, to be perfectly honest. My mom couldn't even read. Again, I buy that as his backstory.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
No, absolutely insane moment for, the baddest dude on the planet, but still.
And I wrote again, once again, death has taken the most important man in his life, and he was powerless to stop it.
Yes. I mean, he could have just not gotten involved with all of this. But
it was his cruelty in driving away Rakuda at that moment that drove Rakuda to sacrifice his life for him. So in the end, it's his fault.
Yes, true.
Yeah. And so not only was he powerless to stop it, he actively caused this. But yeah.
Rakuda made his own choices.
Yes, that is true. But I'm sure that's not how Tsurugi sees it.
No, I'm sure he has a lot of inner guilt.
This is a well-written character piece, goddammit. Look,
Thomas Anderson's The Street Fighter.
I watch this movie for the deep introspective character shit. The X-ray punches are just icing on the cake.
Stop it with all this fighting and examine this man.
So, ironically, Sarai is being held hostage on a ship named after her.
Yeah.
It's the Sarai, an oil ship working for her company, probably named by her dad.
Probably.
She realizes that the man behind this plot is a man we have not mentioned up till now because it wasn't important. Mr.
Jadote.
Mr. Jadote, who she kept mentioning as like, oh, Mr. Jadote will take care of everything. Mr. Jadote is fine. Mr. Jadote was a friend of my dad's.
Surprise!
Turns out, Mr. Jadote's a dick. Mr. Jadote is a man who she trusted her whole life, but he turns out not only is he behind all the evil shit that's happened in this movie, he's also the man who orchestrated the murder of her father. And to top it all off, he looks like a young Peter Stormare, so you know he's evil.
Yes.
Yeah. Apologies to Peter Stormare.
Big fan of the show.
Big fan of the show, Peter Stormare. Shout out to Peter Stormare. Ding Sao has decided... he just casually mentions this to Jinjo, because they've realized that Tsurugi's still alive at this point. He says, by the way, whenever you and Tsurugi have your death match, which I know is coming... because he's as genre savvy as the rest of us. Mm-hmm. He's like, whenever you have this match, I've decided that I'm going to retire from being Ding Sao, and I want whoever wins your fight to take over for me.
That's sweet. That's very sweet. That's very sweet. But also, that's like giving someone a pet as a gift. Like, it's like, hey, here's all this responsibility.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, that's exactly what it is. And also... we don't know if Tsurugi wants this.
No.
Right. Like, it doesn't... we only spent, like, a couple of minutes in Ding Sao's territory. It didn't look great.
Again, I've not heard spectacular things about Kowloon, what little I've heard of it.
Sure. But, I mean, in this universe, they're probably, like, literal monsters in the streets.
It's probably the fucking Madripoor.
Exactly. Exactly. You get a lot of X-Men references in this episode.
Yeah, well...
and thus begins one of the greatest
action scenes.
One of the greatest action climax. I was thinking about it. I can't think of a better ending to an action movie. Like, there are a lot of great action openings I can think of. I can't think of as many great action closers.
And a lot of good mid pieces. Like, the catacomb fight in John Wick 2 is probably
one of
the highlights of that movie.
Right. But the ending fight scenes of John Wick are never the ones that anyone remembers.
No.
Which is like the biggest flaw in that franchise. But like, and that kind of goes for a lot of action movies. A lot of action movies like have sort of front load the really awesome shit. All of John McClane's coolest gunfights happen in the beginning and middle of that movie.
And again, this is...
And then the ending
for
fight
the
scene.
time, this is so incredible. Like
this,
it feels like fucking John Wick. Like you said, it
feels like something from John Wick or The Raid. Like it's
so, the editing is so smooth. The sequences are so long, and it's at least 5 minutes long. I'd say of just Tsurugi nonstop kicking people's asses.
And when we say the sequences, we're talking about those unbroken shots full of hits. We're not talking about like each fight with each person on the ship is really long. In fact, it's honestly very short. This is like one of those sequences where John Wick is going through a crowd of people and just murking folks. And so he arrives on the ship somehow. They do show how it is. I just don't remember how he did it. But he gets on the ship and he just goes through and he just starts killing man after man after man. A storm starts brewing outside, masking the sound of his gazillion murders, so that the bad guys in further on the ship can't hear it. Just a couple of highlights, because again, we're not going to spend a lot of time describing the whole thing. A couple of highlights: punches a guy so hard he pukes to death.
Oh yeah.
Like, and I'm not even talking like spitting up blood. We have a lot of that in this scene and the rest of the movie. I'm talking like milky corn-filled puke,
egg yolky,
like disgusting shit, and he just punches a man so hard he pukes to death. In one of the coolest sequences, someone knocks him off of a stairway. He's hanging on for dear life. He reaches up with his legs, snags the guy, and throws him off the walkway so hard the guy hits the ground face first and shoots blood fucking everywhere upon landing. Just breaks open like Brad said earlier, like a fucking tomato. Kills Yang again. Doesn't matter that she's a woman or that she's not a martial artist. Just absolutely bodies her. It's again with Japanese Pat Hingle. Doesn't matter that he's not a martial artist. Fucking brutalized.
At this point, I fully believe that Tsurugi, if he just came across Sarai, would have just snapped her neck. Like he's in berserker mode. He's just killing everything in front of him.
Yeah, in D&D terms, he's gone into a rage. Yeah.
Only in D&D could it be described as that.
But yeah, and he's the remaining bad guys retreat into Ding Sao's cabin, and they're like, "Oh no, Tsurugi's on the ship," and Ding Sao literally gets up and says, "Finally."
Jesus, it's been 90 minutes.
I love. We talked in off air how much we love that one of the main villains in John Wick 3 is a massive John Wick fanboy.
Yes.
Ding Sao is a huge Tsurugi fanboy, and it gives me life.
Yeah.
It's so good. Ding Sao challenges Tsurugi to a duel, not with himself, but with Junjo, because he's been waiting. He's been waiting for this. And he promised, he literally in the same room, in the same minute, turns to his associates and says, I will kill Tsurugi if he wins. Then turns back to Tsurugi and says out loud in the same tone of voice, does not whisper, does not hide this at all, says, "Don't worry, Tsurugi, I'll let Sarai go if you win."
Well, he's not saying he won't kill him. He's just saying let Sarai go.
That's very true. But it does seem to be counter to what the rest of his gang would want in this instance. Point is, Ding Sao has fully decided that he does not care whether his side wins or loses. He is absolutely in this for the hot Tsurugi on Junjo action that he's about to get.
Which, this...
Just Ding Sao speaks for us all, is what I'm saying.
What I'm saying is this makes people with the official position of throat cutter look bad. And they lack integrity.
Right,
they're always making bunko deals, always stabbing people in the back, when what they're doing is cutting throats.
It takes a lot of work and a lot of and a very clean background, as you found out, to become a throat slutter.
Throat slutter, yeah. I know what kind of movies you like to watch.
throat slitter, and this movie is just shitting all over it. It's disgusting.
It is.
Frankly.
It's really...
Frankly.
That's what it got the X rating for, is defamation.
Defamation of throat slitters. But yeah, Tsurugi and Junjo head out into the storm.
Yep.
It's just like...
And I believe this is the scene that we see in True Romance.
That makes sense. This is a very classic sort of scene. It's like I that famous scene in one of the Akira Kurosawa movies where it's like the two samurai swordsmen in the field of wheat that's just like blowing everywhere. The storm is reflecting the rage in their hearts. The mafia guys are not happy about this taking place for some reason.
Hey, this isn't how we do a business.
They're not happy about this arrangement. And as Tsurugi and Junjo are going at it, they're having their fight. One of them is like, you know what? Fuck this shit. And just decides to shoot Tsurugi.
Yeah.
He only manages to shoot Tsurugi in the leg, but Ding Sao will not have this kind of disrespect taking place. So he takes out his throat-slitting sword and kills all of his own guys that are left.
See, that's the kind of integrity I like to see.
Right.
So I guess he's more of like a gray character.
He's like
than
a gray...
black and white character.
Okay, you know
in
what?
terms of representation of throat slitters.
You know what? At the end of the day, this movie is not so bad when it comes to representing throat slitters, I guess.
It's very nuanced. Because there are bad ones out there. A couple bad apples. Yeah. But yeah, Junjo's sister, turns out, is also on the ship somehow. What? You lose her once, you don't want to lose her again.
Right, yeah, he's been keeping her in his back pocket. But she comes out of nowhere. She has a sai that they were using in an earlier scene.
And
this
again,
bugs you.
This bugs me because sais are defensive weapons.
Right.
They are meant to counter swords.
Right.
The tip is usually blunted.
Mm-hmm. And in this one, they're basically using it as a knife, which is what most movies tend to use it as. Oh well. But yeah.
Well.
But she tosses her sai to her brother and gets Tsurugi in a hold that he can't seem to get out of. She grabs him and she holds him tight. And she's saying... She yells at her brother to stab them both through. And Junjo, after a little bit of hesitation, does so, driving the sai through his sister's back and into Tsurugi, causing Tsurugi to make his most intense duck face yet.
Yes.
I don't think we mentioned that yet. Whenever Tsurugi is in a fight scene, he's making these incredible duck faces.
He has like a rubber Jim Carrey face that's constantly mugging and constantly contorting, and it's insane that it works.
It's, again, something like that. I think that's why I compared him to Bruce Campbell, because he's got like that gigantic chin, but he's also got the rubber face thing going. So Tsurugi is now... He didn't get fully stabbed to death.
No, he's still shambling.
Because, sais are pretty short. But he's still shambling along. He's got a bloody hole in his chest. He's got a bloody hole in his leg. He's twitching and convulsing. He falls down on the ground. He does look like he's really dying. And Junjo's about to go in and deliver the final blow and take out Tsurugi once and for all. But at the last minute, Tsurugi reaches up and literally, with his bare hands, tears out Junjo's throat.
Fuck you, Roadhouse.
Does that happen in Roadhouse?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I need to see Roadhouse one of these days. Okay. But, and just fucking rips Junjo's throat clear out with his bare hands. He staggers to his feet and is caught by Sarai and Ding Sao. And then in one of the most abrupt endings...
It just ends. There's a freeze frame. I think we get the end title.
It's not even a freeze frame. He's just staggering to his feet, and over this final shot of Sarai and Ding Sao holding him standing in the rain with his bare Captain Kirk chest open to the elements. The credit comes up. The end for now. Watch for the return of the Street Fighter.
Yes.
And
what an insane way to end a movie.
What an insane, like,
it's like they just were like, we can't go over 90 minutes.
Much like Ding Sao, the filmmakers were just waiting for this final fight between these two characters. Yep. And once it was done, they were like, all these plot threads that we've just left lying around, who gives a shit? It's
a very honest approach.
Because this ending is so open, I desperately want this to have a sequel that's on the same level as the second Female Prisoner Scorpion movie, or the second, or any of the sequels to Lone Wolf and Cub. But unfortunately, the sequels you've told me so far kind of ignore this ending, right?
The Return of the Street Fighter picks up from this scene, but it doesn't do a lot with it.
Yeah.
My main beef with the sequels is, one, the Tsurugi character is significantly softened.
Yeah.
And two, the action is just not as good. You also don't get all the blood. So that's those are my issues with it.
They turn it's kind of like the Ninja Turtles movie, where they just turn them more cartoony and more of a traditional hero as the movies went on. And I wrote, I wish that this movie is so good that if they had kept on this trajectory, thank you, they could have turned this into this epic cinematic soap opera of just Tsurugi being just this everyone's problematic fave, going in and just like maybe even having some like introspective moments like Female Prisoner Scorpion, where they have these moments of like, am I just a monster? And then like turning around and like ripping a guy's throat out and being like, I guess I am.
Well, I guess that answers that. Okay, is there anything else you'd like to say about The Street Fighter?
I'm quickly going through my other notes about Sonny Chiba just to make sure I didn't leave out anything that he said in the interview that I thought was interesting. No, I think I covered all of that. So the only other thing I'll say about The Street Fighter is the same thing that I've been saying the whole time. Fucking watch this movie.
Absolutely.
We managed to get a whole episode out of this, but before we went into it, we were both thinking like, this movie is mostly just really cool fight scenes. What are we going to say? This movie's awesome for 2 hours? And apparently we did. But
for 2.5 hours. One of our longest episodes.
It's because you let me take notes on the plot of this movie, and I can't stop talking, ever.
True. Well, we can cut this down.
Sure. No, it definitely will be. But like, still, any final thoughts from you about it?
No, I love this movie. Watch it. It's whenever I watch like action from the 70s, that is this good, it blows me away. That's like it's like how do we lose this formula in the 80s? Like, how the fuck did this happen? Like,
and this is the same era where in the more mainstream those boring ass Bond movies you hate were being made.
Yes.
That was the more traditional action movie that was still being made at the time, and yet in the grindhouse scene this shit was happening.
Exactly.
Another movie that inspired Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, Enter the Dragon, was being made. Like, there's the 70s grindhouse action scene, Going to America, the Switchblade Sisters that we watched a couple weeks ago.
Incredibly fun movie.
Fucking great stuff.
We'll probably be on the show at some point.
We'll probably be on the show, because that movie's...
There's some nutty shit.
Even weirder than this one.
Just Krabs' outfit makes it belong on the show.
Not cooler than this one, in my opinion, but like definitely weirder.
Well, it's not a contest.
Definitely weirder than this movie.
Yes.
All right.
So next week, No Not That 1 Month continues with our first Russ Meyer entry with Up.
Even though I know it is literally no, not that one, you say the word Up and my heart gets like a little bit happy thinking about the Pixar movie. So yeah, watching this movie is going to be a trip for me.
Well, yeah, it's also going to be just like
a Russ Meyer movie.
And you're going to sit through some softcore pornography front to back.
Oh, great. Remember the first episode when I said we weren't covering porn?
Well,
here we go.
It's softcore porn.
There's no rules, motherfucker.
All right. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.